It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
It's you liberals who have lifted them up, Howard.
Paul, you conservatives make a mistake. You can't afford to strangle hope in people. Without hope, people become dangerous.
No, Howard. You liberals have let them invade our society. You give them jobs, political jobs.
Paul, you missed the point. It's only the smart ones we move up.
That makes it even worse.
No, we have to move them up. If we leave a smart one in the ghetto, he might develop into a leader against us. But if we raise him up into white society, we neutralize him.
It really boils down to our ability to accept. We don't need pessimism.
What he means by pessimism is resistance. And that's what COINTELPRO was all about, stopping the resistance.
I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change.
We hide it in plain sight. One of Plato's greatest works was the allegory of the cave. I feel in order to understand the political matrix, we need only to look into this allegory. We first have to open our minds to the possibility everything is not as it seems, that things we've always known to be truth may be lies. For if we can't perceive the lies we've ingested, we can't see the bars on our mental conditioning. For that is how you walk out of the cave and see the political matrix. Hello. This is Political Matrix. Oh, shoot. Sorry, my mic got a little turned up. It's the Political Matrix. I'm your host, Marcus Young Murphy's Cage. Got an interesting show. Sorry about the delay. Just getting a couple of things together. Bear with me as I work everything out. Get this show ready. Just getting one last thing together. And then we can get started. All right, I think that's good. Here, I'll get one last thing.
Boots on the ground in Iraq.
Okay. All right. Oh, I see my cousin's in the building. What's up, Ladarius? I see Chamonique is in the building. Got an interesting question. I'll hold that after I say what's up to everybody. John is in the building. What's up, John? And I think I saw Uncle Warren was first in the room. I sent Till the link a little bit late, so apologies. That is on me. So that's that. Hold on a second. I guess I could talk to you guys while I do these things. Walk and talk at the same time. Got my coffee. If you guys are in the California area, at any time and you like really strong and sweet coffee, there's a place I recommend. It's called Tierra Mia. And the coffee that what I prefer to get is called Cubano con leche. It's very sweet and very strong, and I feel like that'll help me through this show to be able to provide you guys with hopefully some information, a little bit of entertainment at the same time. Don't want the show to get too heavy, but it's a couple of topics that have been talked about, and on here many times we've said that like all of these things overlap, all these topics overlap, that you can't look at the world isolated. You can't only look at, what's going on here in Pakistan is that, and what's going on with Iran is that, and what's going over here is this. And no, a lot of this stuff is, they touch each other. And the reason why so many of these things touch on each other. Oh, shout out, I see the Undercurrent is in the building. What's up, Undercurrent? Oh, that's right. I forgot. This is Warren's other link. Well, him in the show with Laney. But shout out to the both of them. Says, oh yeah. Oh, you like it too. Yeah, this is my drink. So when I see Jackie is in the building. What's up, Jackie? Got some interesting stuff to talk about. I don't know why in my theater, well, I guess in studio, it's still showing TBA, but I'm going to cheat and look at how I have this titled so that I can remember and to address all the different topics. Okay, so I got U.S. of Israel versus Iran updates, of course, because obviously you guys know it's nothing new. I want to talk about Sudan also and how Sudan connects to this story. And I think I've brought it up before, but it's very interesting how before I've talked about it and I've talked about how it ties in certain ways. But right now, this war is actually affecting it in a positive way. And so I'm going to bring that up. I saw an interesting clip, and I think that's probably the one that I want to start with Scott Bessent. Now, for those who are not familiar with Scott Bessent, he's one of I think he's a Secretary of Treasury. Anyway, he's a Trump official. Yes. Oh, well, that definitely connects it all. That's what connects all of this stuff together. Bringing up Epstein. But I wanted to bring up this. What is? I guess he's I guess a body analysis reader. Like, so he kind of reads, tells what you do with your body when you speak. And it's kind of interesting because it's something that I kind of like a hobby of mine that I took on years ago. I had a little bit of introductory training to this, but trying to read micro expressions, and you get a lot of different trainings like that when you're in the military, at least base level, because when you're trying to do threat assessment, you want to be able to try to look around and see anything that looks out of place, so that you can be alert to situations that are going on and how you should address those situations. And then when you go a little bit further with it, you're trying to read movements and deceptions. And so on that surface level, it gives you some of the introductory stuff that you would be learning once you got into actually studying full on micro expressions and trying to basically be a human lie detector. And there are professionals which do it. Granted, it's not something that's admissible in court, but it is something that businesses do on a high level to try to figure out which way to negotiate different deals. And it's also something which lawyers will sometimes employ to try to figure out which ways to go, as far as if they feel a suspect is hiding something, not necessarily what they're hiding, but to just try to see if they're hiding something. And it got really famous with a show years back called Lie to Me with Tim Roth. And so I'm going to kind of, I'm always fascinated whenever I see people who do this. And I noticed some of the interesting tales, and I think he kind of went a little bit, Scott Bessent went a little viral for some of his reactions right in the middle of an interview. And so it's kind of a perfect time to be able to go into seeing that science, because you're getting to see somebody come into an interview where they're completely perfectly fine. And so you're able to look at a baseline and get a person's kind of typical normal responses to questions which aren't necessarily really threatening or pressing questions. And then you're able to see them when they have been rattled to some degree, or something has happened where now you can see a visible change in this person. And when you have that baseline, it's a lot of times it's hard to tell when you don't know a person. But if you have tape on a person, especially a lot of famous people, you're able to see them in different instances. You're able to see them when they're laughing and they're funny, how they react. You're able to see them when they're talking about something that they're passionate, that they care about, how they talk about these things and how they move and how they interact. And you're also able to see, by looking at those different things, when they react certain ways where they feel uncomfortable, where they may be trying to be deceptive and what they're saying. So it's kind of an interesting science. I want to get into that definitely. I'm going to talk about a little bit about the sad possibility of boots on the ground in Iran. Uh, and then one other story, we were going to talk about it last week, but we got a little bit distracted away from it. And of course, you guys know about the warning to California, to Gavin Newsom, about the possibility of some kind of a terrorist attack in California. I want to talk a little bit about that because there's some interesting things that are going on and interesting parallels. Will history repeat? Will it rhyme? I don't know for a fact, but that's something that I do feel it's worth talking about. And that's just some of the topics that I want to bring to you guys. So, I know a long-winded intro, but let's answer some of these questions. It says, Marcus, do you bump into a lot of celebrities where you live? Me, I'm kind of more of a homebody. So I'm not really out there like that. But if you go to certain events and certain time periods, it's very possible to go and run into celebrities. For instance, sorry, take a sip real quick. If you go to they were having SAG Afra protest between the actors unions and stuff like that with the studios. At that time, you very easily can run into celebrities because I know one the president of the uh of the union, that's what I was trying to say. The president of the union is an actor. Now, granted, I think he's only did a couple of movies back in the day. He hasn't really done much that I can think of as of now, but yeah, you will definitely see him there. You will see you can see plenty of other ones at events like that, and they might step out and speak. Or if you know, for instance, that they're going to be like putting a star, like some kind of star is going to be getting, some celebrity is going to be getting their star. You can go down to the Walk of Fame and possibly run into a celebrity then and there. Yeah, you have Oscars, you have different events where you can decide to just be in an area and have a higher probability of running into them. The same with just like hanging out in certain areas. If you like, if you, for instance, if you worked on like Rodeo Drive or something like that, where a lot of wealthier people, shop, it's a good possibility. If you hang out around, any of the areas where the studios are, like Culver City or something like that, you could definitely run into celebrities. But the one thing about the whole kind of like Hollywood, LA, all that kind of metro area, which this is something that I kind of had to learn too. Well, I guess I kind of knew this to some degree because I learned this when I got to Florida. Because when you don't live in, like, say, a Florida, for instance, you look at all of Florida is like Miami, and that's just not the reality. It's definitely not the reality. Even Miami, all of Miami is not the Miami that you think, because they sell you this Miami Beach kind of image, and it's not. That's not what it is. It's the same thing with they sell you this whole Hollywood thing, and even though mileage wise I'm very close to right there, where the celebrities are, Beverly Hills, all that. It's not super far away from me. But traffic, the way it is here, it kind of separates the city, and you kind of, like, a lot of times if you just kind of work and play in your area, you don't really hang out in some of those areas nearly as much. So, I on an average don't drive more than maybe 10 to 15 miles from home. And, well, actually, now that I think of it, maybe that area in Hollywood where you can run into celebs isn't that far either. But I mean, you can go to a basketball game or whatever and still run into celebs. So I don't know. I guess in short, I don't personally, but that doesn't mean you can't. I think I probably ran into more celebrities passing through the Atlanta airport than I have since I've been in California. And that's only been, I've been to the Atlanta airport maybe 4 or 5 times, and I've probably seen a celebrity every time I went through there. Whereas I think I've maybe seen one celebrity since I've been here. Well, technically, I saw 2 celebrities, but they were on the plane with me going back to my hometown because one of them is actually from Kansas City also. Hopefully that explains. And then Chamonique had a question also. Let's see, where was her question at? You asked, strong and sweet is what the ladies call me. Hilarious. Said, do I think Netanyahu is dead? No, I don't think he's dead, but I don't think he's unscathed. I think he's probably in really, really bad shape. I think he's probably, you know, probably very badly injured. Now, whether that's injured as in like he's missing a leg or he's on his deathbed, I don't know. It could even be just like he has a really, really bad bruises and bloodied up face or whatever. It could be something to that degree where he survived the attack on his home, but it just left him so black and blue. He doesn't want to come out from in front of the cameras because he doesn't want to admit how close they got. So I lean more towards the fact of he got hurt and he's just hiding. I either think that or I think that man is nowhere near Israel. And he doesn't want to let on to the fact of he's actually hiding out like in the US or he's hiding somewhere in Germany or something. I mean, Poland. I mean, I think that's what it is. I definitely don't believe that these images that they've been putting out have been real images of him. Hopefully that answers the question. Let's see. See, Atris is in the building. What's up, Atris? Bad Cookies is in the building. What's up, Bad Cookies? Hollywood is just Scientology stress test. Which I was tempted one day to go into that building and ask them some questions. We saw Ralph Macchio. Cool. See, Lady Alex is here. Welcome to the show. See, Chris H is here. What's up, Chris H? Yes, the genocidal maniac. That's who I'm saying is hiding. It looks unless these are real images, if they are real images, that means that this man is highly stressed out because he looks like, if they're real, he's lost a lot of weight. And the AI video I saw, speaking of coffee, the AI video I saw with the coffee, his fingers looked weird. Like I'm like gripping all extra hard or whatever, but his fingers just looked weird in the image. Now I know mine do because they're all broken and twisted and all kind of stuff and mangled. But just the way he was holding, like, here, let me hold a cup. Maybe I need to look and see. Okay, no, my hands are pretty relaxed, just holding a cup. His was like this, and this is about the same size cup. His was like all spread like this, and I'm like, who holds a fucking coffee cup like this? He's holding it like it's actually uncomfortable to hold it with your fingers spread like this. It feels freaking weird. Yeah, almost. It's like you're squeezing the cup. Where that's a little bit more natural to hold a cup that way. I mean, so I don't know. Here, I'll switch hands. That feels more natural for your fingers to be more close together versus his was like it's like he's playing a guitar or something. I'm like, what that just something about that just looked weird. And then the fact that I get it, he's supposed to be I mean, I get it. He's the prime minister of Israel. And so who else would be coming up to talk to him but an Israeli? But to me, it's just something seems, it's hard for me to believe, oh, well, you posted some Israeli walking up to him and asking him this question in a coffee shop. Also, does he really walk around Israel like no bodyguards around him or not close to him or anything? I mean, there's no way. There's no way if I'm his security detail and I know that this dude it has so many people who want his head. There's no way I would have him just like walking around solo dolo. That just feels weird. There's no way I would just have a man who was in the midst of a war, you know, actually in the midst of multiple wars. There's no way I would just have him just walking around out there, free as a bird, like nothing's freaking happening. Also, there's no school or anything going on. If he's going to go randomly get coffee at a coffee shop, I would think his wife would be with him, kids, something. I don't know. The whole coffee shop video just it don't have a good smell to it. All right, so sorry. I had a couple of, let's see, which videos did I wanted to hop to first? I don't know if you guys saw that weird weather that's going on right now. I already know I was like, am I gonna bring this up or not? But yeah, I figured I would at least bring it up. I don't think, and for those also who grew up in the Midwest, can you correct? I know John grew up in the Midwest also. Um, have you ever seen a time when we were having tornadoes in like February and March? I mean, I don't ever remember that. It just seems weird. Here, I'm gonna start your comment, bad cookies, so I can make sure to answer that. Eh, it just seems weird to me. I haven't seen that before. Yeah, never. Exactly. I've never seen tornadoes this early. And then a new phenomenon. I don't know if you guys have seen that recent video. It was out of a news. I think it was news out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, and they were showing tornadoes. I mean, not tornadoes, but they were showing thunderstorms with snow. Now I know people in the Northeast also grew up with with snowstorms and thunderstorms and blizzards. Have you ever seen thunderstorms combined with snowstorms? I don't know. It just seems weird. Oh, Jackie, tornadoes normally occur, I want to say what earliest I really remember them was like maybe a late March into late summer. So an early tornado would be um, late March to around early April would be like the earliest we would normally see tornadoes. But even then, if you saw one, they were kind of weaker. You mostly saw like thunderstorms, and you see a lot of those. You normally don't see a blizzard past like I want to say like past what early to mid February. Normally there's no more blizzards or no more like snowstorms. Most of that's kind of like tailing off. You still might get some cold, but normally the snow, and I'm just speaking for like Kansas City in particular, or I'll say that central Midwest area where I can speak for Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, Iowa, Oklahoma, Illinois, Colorado. A lot of times it might be still cold, but the snow is kind of start tailing off, except for like Colorado with the mountain areas. The snow is kind of start tailing off by the time you start getting to March. Yeah, you're typically not getting any, and if you do, it's like, oh, that's kind of weird. Um, But to see snowstorms going this late, thunderstorms going this early, just either the theories about everybody talking about weather machines and all that are there where they're doing this on purpose, or whether they've been putting enough stuff into the air where they're actually starting to just jack up the seasons, or whether there's something else afoot. I don't know. But what I do know is it just does not seem right. What's going on? Says, I'm just glad I came hiding in the South this year. Yeah, my children confused by the weather up there. Exactly. I'm confused by the weather up there. My mom was telling me about just a tornado warning not that long ago that she was just dealing with. But yeah, I saw lightning I saw somebody shoveling snow, and you can tell by the snow it was kind of a light snow. What I mean by light snow, for those that don't get it, is when the ground is still kind of warm and the snow come down and it kind of it accumulates. When it's a light snow, you can just kind of just run the shovel across and it just kind of just pushes right off. You're not having to and really put force in to get the snow off the surfaces. So it's well, that's the thing. You said, I see Jackie says, I feel guilty because it's unseasonably mild over here. But that's the weird part. I've seen it jump up to like 70 and 80 in the Midwest too early, and that's not normal. It's like, I put it this way. I was born in February. The year I was born, we had one of the worst blizzards in Kansas City. Jump forward my 30th birthday, we had a nasty blizzard then also. So I'm used to blizzards early part of February, and then by middle of February it's just cold. It's just cold as hell, ground as hard as a rock. And that's kind of what it is. And then March it kind of starts to cool out, then we start getting the rain, and then April it's just raining most of the time. And then it starts to get into, okay, now it's starting to heat up, excuse me, and we're starting to get into tornado season. See, there's my cousin right there saying it's snowing now. So yeah, I saw it's like a big huge line where I saw going all the way from Minnesota, and it's crossing all the way across, well, Minnesota and Wisconsin, hitting all those areas and going all the way across through Iowa, Nebraska, coming across to Kansas and Missouri. I don't know. It's just it's a little trippy, and seeing that kind of snow is kind of going across, even across the I would say the northern part of the United States, which is kind of weird because I remember sometime last year they were talking about that it wasn't getting cold enough in Canada because the bears weren't going into hibernation. So it's just some really weird weather stuff going on. See, he says was 70 this morning. So it goes from 70 to snowing. I mean, granted, I've seen it. I mean, I know living in Kansas City, the weather can be trippy like that, but I don't think I've ever seen it this crazy. So, and that's why I said, I know bringing this up, this is going to bring out the weather manipulation peoples. I already know. I just don't get what the purpose would be for. I don't get the purpose because none of the things that anybody's ever said has made any sense to why they would be trying to do it. The why doesn't make sense. If it's some way to bilk more money out of us, it's not hard for them to do that. They got the money; they can really get us out of the money at any time. I don't get spending crazy amounts of money to manipulate the weather to try to get more money, and I don't get it. So I don't know. That's That's that one. I did. Oh, that's right. Speaking of weather, I did have this. Um, I don't know if I showed this last week, but can y'all make sure that we watch out for our neighbors' crazy stuff that may be going on? Um, because I saw this video. Well, I was sent this video, and it kind of like, I mean, hey, he's built different to go and do this, but shout out to this man for having the care to go after and try to help this person. But I don't even know what to advise on this. All I can do is just show you guys this clip and get your thoughts.
Incredible act of bravery caught on camera. A man sprinting across several lanes of Interstate 93 near Boston, dodging traffic to save a driver in distress.
Si se me presenta 10,000 veces más lo hago.
Adolfo Molina is the man running alongside the blue car as it speeds in the shoulder next to the median. Molina trying to open one of the doors. He says he first noticed the driver unconscious behind the wheel.
Ahí yo me doy cuenta de que la mujer va inconsciente y mareada, chocando con la pared, con la ventana, así.
That's when he pulled over his own truck to help. The risky move, a dangerous attempt. But Molina believes his own safety was in the care of someone else's hands.
Fue como algo de Dios que me protegió en ese transcurso.
His wife Maite thinking about what could have happened.
The first thing that came to my mind was, oh my God. And then I was like, oh my God, I would have become a widow and my children.
Eventually, another driver was able to help Molina bring the car to a stop until police arrived. The 25-year-old Uber driver, originally from the Dominican Republic, honored by his local mayor and the Dominican consulate in Boston for his bravery.
Dice dominicano destacado en el exterior, el Instituto Dominicano y Dominicana en el Exterior, INDE, reconoce con orgullo a Adolfo Molina Burgos.
Molina hoping he gets the chance to reconnect with that driver. But for now, he's grateful for the outpouring of support to the now viral video, seen more than 1 million times.
Muchas gracias a todo lo que me han comentado, todo lo que me han dado un like en TikTok.
Valerie Castro, NBC News.
This is this is why I always keep a glass break thing with me. I heard it, he said in there some part about that he was trying to go for the windows. This is why I keep a glass break thing. So if you are in a situation and you are trying to save somebody, because most of the time when we get in our cars, there's going to be an automatic lock function. And so when you're getting in your car and you put it in the drive, a lot of cars hit the automatic lock. And so it was courageous what he was trying to do, but more than likely there was no way he was getting into that car unless he had a glass break on him. And I keep that always on me. And for situations like that, that's the reason why I said that it's good to have that. You never know. It may not be a situation where you or you're in your vehicle and you need it to get out of your car, but you might need it to help somebody else. So I would just say in a time like this, make sure that we're especially with what's going on in the world, any stuff that you need to get to start prepping and preparing for when shit hits the fan, I would definitely advise it. As we get more into the show, I'll make sure that I bring up like I was talking to my mom yesterday, and I was we were talking about how things are getting and what to prepare for and stuff like that. And so make sure that everybody, you guys, keep your tanks as close to full as possible. That's one word of advice that I would say quickly. Also, keep cheaper food things in your house, whether that might be rice, beans, things that are kind of non-perishables that you can cook with easily. Those are some of the things that I would say. So let's see. Bad Cookies asked me, Marcus, are you concerned with the potential pending collapse of the petrodollar? I don't know if I'm concerned with it. Do I believe that it's a possibility of something that is coming? Yeah, I do believe it's a possibility of something that's coming. It depends on if Iran lets Trump out of the trap that he's put himself into. Notice how I worded that. I said, if Iran lets Trump out of the trap that he's put himself into, because Trump has put himself into this trap himself. Trump has listened to idiots around him. And this is one thing, like, regardless of what anybody feels about this man, something I remember Henry Ford saying. He was on trial, or I guess not really trial, but he was in court and he was being asked about like kind of going through a deposition anyway. And he was like, yeah, I'm not the smartest man. I don't know how to do this and do that, but I'm going to make sure to hire somebody who knows how to do this and do that. And I know I might not know how to do everything, but I know how to go find somebody who has the answers. I know how to go. And when you're dealing with somebody who thinks that they're the smartest person in the room and that everything they do is the best that's ever been done, and they've never had a reality check from life, they've never had that correction, it makes them a very dangerous person, because power in the hands of an imbecile is I mean, do I need to say more? We're dealing with a very, very dumb man who has ultimate power right now. And the only way he can be humbled, you know, it's gonna have to come at great pain and stakes on other people. So, I mean, that said, I think that we're going to face a strong collapsing of the petrodollar because of the ignorance and arrogance of Trump. I mean, there's so many people and so many neocons who are living in the propaganda of the 1980s, the America, and they think that America is invincible. What it is it kind of reminds me of those college teams in the first half of their football seasons. You always see like Notre Dame is playing like some school like Bowling Green State, Middle Tennessee. They're playing like, you know, MIT of New Mexico City College. And it's like, okay, you're beating up on all these smaller, basically junior college teams. What happens when you face somebody who can actually scrap back? It's the same thing with some of these guys. You see this all the time in boxing. And for my boxing fans, they'll understand this. For those who don't follow boxing, you'll be able to get this reference also. What happens a lot of times in boxing is, in order to get somebody ready for a championship run, they will basically cherry pick fights that they know that they can win. So it pads their win-loss record. Also, if they can get a lot of quick knockouts on some of these opponents, it makes you look like you're the next up and coming thing. So what happens is it puts you in contention for those larger fights. And then what eventually happens is, when you actually fight somebody who can really fight and do damage, you either rise above and you do great, or you completely crumble and you're never heard of again. Well, Trump is one of those people who's never had to fight anybody. He's racked up, these false W's in the minds of plenty of people. And now he's going to actually have to fight somebody. Like, and I'm not even saying that Trump hasn't caught some L's, but what it is, it's the equivalent of he lost this fight during his sparring session, and nobody heard about the fight during the sparring session. They didn't hear that he got knocked out in the sparring session. But this time, this is a world championship fight, and when he loses this time, there's no hiding it. Everybody will see it. So I think the United States is It depends. That's what I'm saying. It all depends on how Iran wants to do this. It all depends on. Um. Also, it depends on time. How long all of these things take. Um. Trump could just face a situation where he becomes a lame duck president and he has to be tossed out. And he doesn't get the chance to do the full damage that he planned on doing because he gets hamstringed with a new Congress coming in. That's possible, but I don't know for a fact exactly where this is going to go. I agree. He is Trump. I agree, Lady Alex. Trump is the stooge that they've chosen to continue the horror. But at the same time, this man is not I mean, what I've seen more than anything, really going back and studying probably the last like 4 presidents, is there's more autonomy with the presidents than we give credit to. I'm not telling you guys that I don't believe that there are people much higher than him that are pulling strings and all that. I just don't believe that they're sitting in everything day to day. They wouldn't have time to, because if you're sitting on top and you're monitoring America and you're monitoring Israel and you're monitoring Great Britain and you're monitoring Germany and you're monitoring all these other countries, you can't literally sit there and babysit them on every single task. They have to have a certain amount of autonomy, or you put a little bit of handlers around them to kind of nudge them in a certain direction. But occasionally they're going to do things that the powers that be above them are like, we didn't really want them to do this, but how can we make this work for us? And so that's kind of more or less how I see it. They nudge and they guide things in a direction. They don't necessarily are just like giving them commands. The overconfidence in Bad Cookie says the overconfidence of America and his belief that this is still 1990s truly speaks to their disassociation. It does. What it is they've taken the fact that Iran has decided, you know what, we're trying not to attack back. We're trying to go the path of least resistance. That China is focused on economics more than anything. That Russia, even though people have their different feelings about them, Russia's not going full bore. And because countries are not completely laying it all on the line because they still want to make money, they've taken that as these countries are becoming weak. And honestly, what it's come down to more than anything is that the corruption within our system with our leaders. The fact that we've gotten dumber and dumber and dumber leaders, they've just started to believe a lot of the hype. Whereas we've always had corrupt leaders, but I don't believe the leaders before were dumb. Like, do I think that Bush was dumb? To a degree, yeah. Do I think he's as dumb as Trump? Hell no. But he was at least not so arrogant that he didn't put smarter people around him. They might have been evil as shit, but they were still smarter than him, and that could protect him from his worst instincts, that could guide things in a sense. You know, W was just kind of like the bumbling idiot, which is, you just look at him, you're like, God bless him. You're like, he's just so stupid. He can't help it. But Trump is stupid and angry and manipulative, and he's that dumb but bullying type. You know, there's a kind of there's the one type which they mess things up because they're just stupid and they don't even realize what they're doing. There's the other ones who mess things up because they don't know what they're doing, but at the same time, they have anger and rage that goes along with that bitterness, and their intentions are not good. I truly believe George Bush's intentions, for the most part, he believed were good. I think Trump doesn't operate that way. He doesn't care about what's good. He cares about what people around him told him if you'll give him money and if you piss him off. And he treats everything as black and white. There's no shades of gray. Thomas had a good comment earlier that I skipped. I didn't skip, but wanted to get back to. Let's see. The topography of Iran makes this place very difficult to invade and conquer, and its large populated country will use this guerrilla fighting. Iran also can block the oil shipments in the straits. This is something that I'm worried about with Trump wanting to. He's trying to get different allies to come in and help. Nobody wants to come in and help for what? They don't want to run their people into the meat grinder. They also understand the strait. It's a small area that you're running into. You bring and this is something which I've seen a lot of people on X saying stuff like this. You can't. There's no. Well, let's just drive a bunch of tanker trucks around, and then we could just drop the oil at the end. Can't do that. It's not going to work. For one, the amount of trucks that you would need to get close to the amount of ships that go through there, it's just not. It's not feasible. You can't make up for it by just trying to drive around it. You also can't make up for it by trying to, let's just cut through that little point here. And I mean, that looks short, yeah, because you're looking at it on the map. You're not looking at it in reality, what it actually looks like. It goes down below the water quite a bit. And above the water, what you start running into is a mountain range. Trying to cut through, a mountain range is just, that's not going to work. How expensive it would be to try to find some other way around it. It would be expensive. Also, you wouldn't be able to get a project done like that for years. So either way, you would still be screwed trying to come up with that. And then trying to pack the strait with a bunch of giant ships escorting through, they're going to be sitting ducks. They're going to be sitting ducks. And I saw somebody hop on and they said something like, oh, but you have this weapon, you have that weapon, you have that. And I just summed it up quickly. I said, none of that matters when you're at close range. They literally can just have people pop up with RPGs and just start launching on them. They're within range. Also, you can just overwhelm them with what is it, Qasim drones. You could just, there's so many different ways. You hit one of these ships with a ballistic missile, and it could cause all kind of catastrophe and take out multiple ships. When you start putting that many ships that close together going through there, it doesn't make sense. Let's see. The U.S. has apparently run out of interceptors at their bases. Yeah, that's the reason why. Like last week, we talked about how they were taking them out of South Korea. That's exactly why. Jackie says here, Thomas and Marcus, whether the U.S. wins or loses, don't we all lose regardless? This goes back to what I was saying about somebody like Trump. He doesn't understand the trap that he's in. He doesn't understand, and his only way of doing things always is apply more force. And so this is why I have a hard time with anybody. This is why I have a hard time not believing that he didn't take advantage of these women, because this man shows he doesn't understand anything else but just force. He doesn't hear no. He doesn't hear anything else. This tells me, yes, you are the type of woman which will hold a woman down and take what you want from her, because you show in business you don't know what negotiating means. You only know what arm twisting is and force. And what I've seen with Trump is he has come back around to ideas that he's wanted to do for decades. So what that tells me is this isn't somebody that's like, I want to do this, and somebody says that's not going to work. It's like, why is it not going to work? This, and this. Oh, okay, then I'll leave it alone. That's not Trump. Trump is, sir, that's not going to work. Well, why wouldn't it work? I mean, we can do this, sir. This. This is why it won't work. Oh, okay. And then he's going to turn right back around and ask you, why don't we do this? You're like, sir, we just told you that won't work. He's just going to keep coming back to it over and over and over. And he's one of those people who has learned everything the hard way. He can't learn by, like me, growing up, I can watch another kid get their ass whooped and say, ooh, I don't want none of that. I'm good. What? Hey, I need to go to bed right now? Cool. I'm going to bed. I didn't need to get my ass beat too. To learn the lesson. Some kids are like that. Some kids will watch somebody over there jumping over this thing over and over and over and over. Parents are like, all right, stop messing with that, and you jump over it. And then when you fall and you bust your ass, you over there crying. There's another kid sitting right over there like, well, I bet you I won't fall. That's Trump. Trump can watch somebody go in and get jacked up, and in his head, that won't happen to me. Because I'm special. And that's the reason why we're in so much trouble. A person like that is dangerous. I remember when all these conservatives kept saying, well, we need somebody who runs a country like a business. Like, that's a horrible idea. And the reason why I said that was a horrible idea, because CEOs are not used to being told no. They're not used to, hey, sir, well, we should do this. No. And I'm not saying this is all CEOs, but majority of CEOs do not take feedback and input. They only listen to force. So therefore, if there's a board and the board tells them no, they stop. If there's the market pressure starts showing them pricing, they stop. But they only respond to force. There is no counsel around them that's like, hey, well, if we did that this would happen. And they're like, you know what, Johnson? That's a great idea. That CEOs like that don't exist anymore. I'm not gonna say they don't exist anymore, but they are definitely, rare. Most of them, whatever idea they come up with, they only hire yes men who are going to implement their vision. That's the reason why when they start talking about 50% of small businesses, collapse. Exactly, because they don't listen to nobody else. They just do what the fuck they feel like. I'm the boss. I paid the cost to be the boss. I'm going to do what I feel like it. Okay, well, if the shit fails, then it fails. Fuck it. Yes, business cut corners and underpay staff. Exactly. That's another reason why I would never want a CEO to run a country. They're not. Sometimes I don't think conservatives want democracy. They just want a strong man. But then at the same time, the U.S. political system has delegitimized itself in the eyes of the public. I think that what you're talking about with conservatives is conservatives only really respect one thing: money. If you make money, then obviously you're smart. And if you make money and you're smart, I'll follow you any day. That's what it comes down with them. It's that simple. Many of them are that simple-minded. They don't factor in anything. They don't factor in, well, where did you get your money from? Did you get your money from money laundering? Did you get your money from a lawsuit? Did you get your money because it was handed down? No. They just see money, status. That's enough for me. This person knows what they're doing. If they ideologically line up the same. So what was it? And I wanted to show. There was something that while we were speaking. Oh man, I forgot I got all these clips sitting up here. So, oh, like perfect example. Remember I was talking to you guys about Jack Welch? Jack Welch is a perfect example of why you should never want a CEO in charge. I'm trying to see if I can find anything, a short clip on him. I mean, I do have the one which I brought up, video which I did. But the man he's the greed is good mentality. Who cares how many people you screw over? And if you run your country like a business, you're more than likely going to only worry about the profits, GDP growth, all that. You don't care about the citizenship. You don't care about citizenry. You don't care if half of your population is impoverished. And you see it more and more with some of the young conservatives. Like somebody was asking, well, why do we need Social Security and things like that? They're like, well, because I think it was a Destiny debate. As people get older, then what remedy do you have for them to be able to take care of themselves? They're like, well, they should have managed their money better. Well, what if they had cancer and it wiped out all their savings? Then what? Well, screw them. Tough luck, old guy. That's the problem with that's my problem with conservatives, because they just don't. It's a me focus, and if things don't happen to you, it never clicks to them that you got by with a lot of luck and people around you a lot of times helped you out. But very easily, if the shoes were on the other foot, you would not want this done to you. But they can't see beyond themselves. That's the problem with conservatism in my eyes. It said, damn, sounds just like my conservative, greedy nephew. Yeah, conservatives only see the world through them. Whole world can burn as far as they're concerned. Only about me. But here's the thing which they don't understand. When that whole world burns, eventually the fire comes to your doorstep. And if you saved up all this money and built yourself this nice palace, and your workers, let's say your workers' places got burned down, you think they're going to come save yours? If they are coming to save it, they're coming to save it and then putting you out of it to take it. So what was I going to show you guys? So let's go with which clip did I want to show first? I think I want to show this I guess I'm going to kind of bounce around a little bit. Hopefully this isn't too disjointing. You guys follow. I remember the days when you had the spouses where they would be, hey, my husband, he joined the military. The military supports us, even though I'm not happy he's away. Hey, I'll just pray and hopefully you had those kind of spouses back in the day. Now you got a new breed where they're like, hey, no, this ain't right. So I just kind of want to share this video real quick of what this active duty soldier's wife had to say, because I think there's probably more spouses out there that feel the same.
Voted for this.
Please do me a favor, share this with a few people on your phone. It's the wife of an active duty serviceman. What she has to say, I just wish a few politicians would listen.
I want you to know that I hate you. I mean that. I hate you. And that's not just me speaking out of fear or sadness as the spouse of an active duty service member, although I am profoundly sad and incredibly terrified right now. But I still mean it when I say that if you voted for this, I hate you. And if you know me in real life, and you're watching this and you're shocked because you're thinking to yourself, well, I voted for this and I know Kendall and I know that she couldn't possibly hate me. She knows me. I want you to know it goes for you too. In fact, not only does it go for you too, I hate you twice as much as the strangers that voted for this. And you are delusional if you think that you get to look me in my eyes and tell me that you care about me while actively cheering on the man who made it very clear from the very beginning that he would happily send my husband, my soulmate, to die in a foreign country. This is monstrous. It's monstrous. They struck a school building. More than 50 little girls are dead this morning because of the man you installed in the most powerful office in the world. That's on you. And I don't know how you're going to live with yourself with that knowledge. Probably an unhealthy dose of delusion and lack of empathy for anyone else on this planet. But I can say that I don't have to live with you. I don't have to have you in my life. I don't have to have monsters in my life. And at this point, if you're still supporting this administration, you're a monster. You are a monster. You are irredeemable trash. And I do not care. The one thing I will say, I apologize to my mother for any shocked and upset phone calls she gets from people in my hometown about this video, but I'm not sorry for making it because I want you to know. I want you to know how deep my hatred for you runs right now if you voted for this. You.
And I get what she's saying. I get what she's saying. I get it. I don't know. I mean, you gotta remember, people are dealing with raw emotion. Do I think maybe she would come back and maybe she might be a little softer towards that? Maybe. But I can't fault the spouse for that when it's her spouse who's going to be going off. Oh, yeah, I got to put this on here. Yes. Trump is just a more disgusting version of all who came before him. I agree. What I've seen is when it comes to the Democratic Party, they have been the soft capitulation of, okay, let's just try to manage the chaos. Let's not prevent it or stop it, but let's just try to manage it so it's not as bad. And I've seen from the Republican Party throughout my lifetime, they have been the parties like, hey, let's make shit worse. Yeah. So both of them are highly problematic. Highly problematic. I think back to, you go all the way back to Nixon. You realize a lot of the Nixon administration became the Reagan administration. A lot of the Reagan administration became the George H.W. Bush administration. A lot of the surviving all the way from the Nixon and the Reagan and the George H.W. Bush also became the George W. Bush regime. And there are still people who are hanging around from those previous ones who are now affecting this generation right now, this administration. Oh, and keep in mind that strand of this that we see that comes from the left, the Hillary Clinton was a young staffer going back. Was Hillary part of the Reagan? I think she was a young staffer during Watergate, if I'm not mistaken. I'm gonna look this up real quick. But I'm pretty sure Hillary goes all the way back to Watergate. Let's see. Hillary Clinton, Watergate. I want to say she was. Let's see. Yeah, Hillary Clinton's involvement in Watergate scandal was as a young staff attorney for the House Judiciary Committee in 1974, where she helped prepare the impeachment case against President Richard Nixon. But she wasn't a part of the impeachment side because she disagreed with it. It was because it was the other party. That's why. But if you look at it, Hillary Clinton yes, exactly. She was a Goldwater girl. I mean, Hillary was one of those people that she was trying to protest against MLK. Do y'all remember that? This woman was on the other side of MLK. So she was always basically the same as your modern Republican. I wouldn't even say modern Republican because they keep just inching further and further and further to the right. But I would say Hillary was always about that. And from the scenes, Hillary has kind of manipulated things from the left. I want to say the last time you had somebody who leaned more towards the Democrats of old would have been Carter. But Carter let himself get hung up in certain ways that it got his brand of being a Democrat pushed out. And what replaced it was old Billy Boy, old William Clinton, which was in a weird way very similar to Reagan because both of their spouses are the ones who pushed their political ideology. I mean, without knowing the history of Bill, which if you guys don't know, Bill got his leg up basically from Hillary's father, who was a political operative at the time. That's who catapulted him to where he was. So he kind of had to tote the line. And so, yes, super predator Hillary. And so Hillary and Bill have kind of been in control of the Democratic Party. So when it comes to foreign policy, that's the reason why you can't tell either of these parties apart. They've been pushing it. And as people have come into Congress, what they've done is, well, this is the way we do it, and this is the way our party does it. So there's no pushback. I saw something about Scott Ritter. Wait, I got to jump on that about Scott Ritter because so Lady Alice was responding to this. Why do people keep having Scott Ritter on? He told people to vote for Trump. Oh, thank you. Thank you for bringing this back up. Because Scott Ritter's I've been watching him and he's out there talking about how heated he is about all this shit. And I was watching him still talk about Trump was making all these smart, brilliant moves and blah, 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 up until like what? Right before this one? Hell, the last time around, he buckled a little bit on that 12-day war, but afterwards he was back on the Trump train. I mean, anybody who sits there and acts like, oh, now this whole Iran stuff is a bridge too far for him. I'm like, the only reason why it's a bridge too far for them is because they see the implications of what's going on and they see the U.S. is not winning and how this is going to go bad. They're trying to get on the other side of it. And I'm like, Scott Ritter, I've heard him make so many predictions about things and talk about so many things, and people keep bringing this guy back on. And I get it. This is somebody who did have a position of was able to speak from a position of authority. I get it. But just because this person was able to speak from a position of authority and has been right here and there on one or two issues does not mean you need to keep bringing this dude back around as if his word is valid. He has been proven wrong on so much fucking shit. And being somebody that was worked naval weapons, some of the takes I've heard him say about naval weaponry, I'm like, dude, you clearly do not know what the hell you're talking about when it comes to these weapons. You may know your army stuff, but you do not know what you're talking about when it comes to this stuff that goes on as far as naval warfare. You have no clue. And also, you watched him attack Qasem Soleimani. You watched him drop the Moab. You watched him do all of these things. You watched him bomb Nigeria on Christmas. You watched him do all of these different things, and all these people talk about, oh, the Christians in these countries are being attacked. You only care when the Christians are being attacked by a Muslim. Because all the times since Israel's been attacking Christians, y'all ain't gave a shit. All these people are just so fake, and I'm so tired of it. People keep, and I'll admit, there was a time where I used to feel like, you know what? I know more than plenty of these people, which have these larger channels that a lot of people listen to. And they give these people so much credit as if they know what they're talking about. And the person with the larger channel don't know what they're talking about. And the jackasses they bring on don't know what they're talking about. And I'm like, it used to bother me. And it's like, this way, nah. I mean, I'll put out my information. You guys can take my information. If it's valuable, valuable. If it's not, it's not. People will make up their own decisions and listen to who they want to. I just know when people will bring certain people to me, hey, did you know such and such said this? Just know a lot of times I'll be like, I don't care, because I know that person doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. Speaking of that, there's a take which I saw somebody make. It kind of got under my skin a little. And I'm not going to go at them, like try to go, at them in some kind of disrespectful way. Hello, Myra. But I'm just going to respond in a way where I feel like it's making a better understanding. Yes, Warren, true. That's the reason why I don't think it's a good idea for them to be sending to Navy in super heavy the way they are. I saw, I know I'm probably going to get some flack for this, but oh well, it is what it is. I made a response. What am I talking about? I'm trying to go back to my my responses on TikTok, because I want to show you guys what I said. Because some people just get on here, I think, because they just want to I guess keep throwing out postings to say that they posted something. But sometimes I see some of these comments and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And it sometimes aggravates the hell out of me. And I'm going to put this one on the screen. I'm put this on the screen because this comment annoyed the shit out of me. And I don't know if people get so influenced by themselves or get so full of themselves. I don't know if that's what it is. I don't know if just people just get in they just fire off all the time. But I think that when we fire off, we need to be clarifying what the hell we're saying better. And stop just attacking people as wholes. That needs to stop. So this comment here by Nick Cruz. Yes, Nick Cruz of RBN. I normally try to keep the peace with most people and not go after anybody. And I'm not going to go after him. That's not my purpose. Not going after him, but I need to clarify and just push back on what he's saying here. Says, imagine abandoning your family in order to fight for a bunch of pedos who want to take over the world. U.S. soldiers are legitimately deranged. This was my response to him. I said, I get your perspective. And so since I got more characters, I can clarify my statement. I get your perspective. Many on active duty are oblivious to what you're saying. I remember, and what I mean by many on active duty are oblivious to what you're saying, because many people join the military 17, 18, 19, 20. They're not thinking about none of the crap that you're talking about. They're not listening to all the political stuff you're doing. They're not spending hours and hours combing through all of this. 17, 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds in the military, they're not engaged with all this crap. They're not reading into the Epstein files. They're not paying attention to most of this stuff. Are some? Yes, but many aren't. Also, how many were in the military before any of this Epstein stuff came out? How many were in the military before this became like this well-known thing? So let me continue. That's why I said many on active duty are oblivious to what you're saying. Many of them don't have no clue. Many of them get in there and they spend their time partying. They're kids. Most of them are kids. Many are kids who end up starting a family, and they're just trying to take care of their kids and their family. But to call them deranged and making it like they're completely in the know with everything and they chose to go and do this. Some do, but many are not. You can't broad base all these people and be so just disrespectful. I guess that's probably what bothers me, because I remember being a young kid who didn't have a full picture on what was going on, and really believe that I was going in to, if need be, give my life for my countrymen, my family, whatever. Because when you join the military, you don't know what war is possibly coming and why and what reasons. You have no clue. There's no way you could know that. But anyway, off me, let me get back to it. I said, I remember women who would intentionally get pregnant to try to get out of deployments, to try to get out of the military. I remember people who would go out and do drugs to get out of, whatever things that was going on. I knew troops that would try to hurt themselves to get out of it. I had 3 or 4 friends who asked me to stab them and pretend it was a fake robbery. I've had ones who've asked me to shoot them. I've known of people to take giant pipe wrenches. We're talking about 25-pound pipe wrenches and drop that on their legs so they can be injured and not have to go. This whole thinking that everybody's sitting over there like, I'm going because I support Trump. That's not fucking reality. That is not what most of the people in the military are doing. Some got arrested and dragged there anyway. This is something you don't know. Some people do go and desert. Sometimes you desert and you get thrown into the brig, which you're away from your family anyway. Some get caught, confined to the ship or your company and taken over there anyway. So I could say more, but my point is, it is not as simple as saying, I'm not going. And before you start saying, well, what about being a conscientious observer and all that? Yeah, you can do that. But you think in this Trump administration, they give a fuck about doing anything that's right? About following procedure? You really think that? You just sign a little paper and they're just going to say, oh, okay, we get it. It's against your religious beliefs. Here, go on your way. Y'all really think that that's what's going on? There are so many There are so many reasons why people join the military. There are so many reasons why people um do things. Most of the people who join the military are joining for fucking college money. That is it. There are many who are joining because they don't feel any opportunity in the area where they grew up in. And for you to sit there and put it that, oh, they want to go defend the pedos, that's why they joined the military, is disgusting to me. It is disgusting that you would say some crap like that about people, that you're going to put that on them. You don't know these people. You don't know why any of them joined. You don't know how many of them feeling right now. You don't know how many of them are sitting there like, fuck, what did I get myself into? How do I get out of this? They ain't running over there with a smile on their face to go do none of this crap. Just like when I was in the military and 9/11 went down, I wouldn't sit up there with a smile on my face like, yeah, let's go after the terror. No. Most of us are worried about one thing when something like this goes down. How do I protect my brothers and people around me? These people I've been serving with for a couple of years that now we became best of friends. How do I protect him? How do I protect her? How do I make sure this person goes home? That's what's on your mind. You ain't thinking about no fucking politicians in Washington. You're not thinking about politics most of the time. I say this because people say, oh, well, there's more information out here, blah, 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 blah. And they say all this shit. When you were 18, 19, 20 years old, what were you focused on? Fresh out of high school, maybe you never had any money. Now you got a little money in your pocket. What are you focused on? You think you're focused on politics? Shit like that pisses me off. So infuriating. Because you're putting shit on people that you don't fucking know. You don't know anything about these kids. They joined ICE to defend pedals. Exactly. I'm just like, dude, for real? And this person says you shouldn't be on foreign land in the first place. You want to know where I was stationed? My first command, Italy, where we have an agreement. Most people don't get stationed and go to war-torn areas. That's not how it happens. Majority of the military don't go into none of those places. Majority are never stationed in none of those places. When you're in Japan, whatever, that's an ally. Who gives a damn? When you're in Turkey, Spain, majority of people are stationed in places like that. We're not stationed in countries who don't want us there. You don't know you're getting those orders until you get those orders. That's what I would say. You don't know you're getting those orders till you get those orders. Yes, most of the military goes to other vassal state countries. Yes. But we're not going into some hostile country which hates us most of the time. Also, somebody said, oh, well, you joined the military to, let me see what it was. They said something about baby killers or something like that. I don't know. It's buried in there somewhere. But anyway, the other comment, it starts saying that, well, you joined this job to sign up to murder people. Majority of the military is jobs that don't even have to do with combat. Y'all do realize that, right? Majority of people are not touching anything having to do with combat. You know, I knew people who were veterinarians. I knew people who were part of the dental program in the military. People who are corpsmen. Some of them who are just working in the hospital, giving out shots and stuff like that. MRIs, normal stuff. People who are part of the honor guard and all they do is show up to ceremonies and fly flags. People who do drill. People who are photographers. One of my good buddies, his job while he was a religious petty officer, basically a chaplain. There's another one who his job was basically he was a cook in the military. There's a lot of people who are not doing anything having to do with combat at all. So to broad brush them all as you're signing up to kill people, you're not. Now, you can attack me with that. Yeah, and I'll take it. Yes, my job was a combat rating. And very likely, yes, you could probably say I do have blood on my hands. I don't shy away from that at all. But the fact that I went in there thinking about the last thing on my mind was worrying about, oh, well, I'm defending the colonial imperialism. No, none of that at all. And to try to put that on a young 17-year-old or 18-year-old who signs up that that's what was on their mind, or you know what, you should have just known better because my family knew better. I knew better. Complicity is a crime. Whoever this is, let's go through your complicity, because I guarantee you, were you some fucking perfect angel? Were you some angel? What were you doing at 17, 18? Because I guarantee you, if somebody starts digging through your past, they're going to find all kind of shit. I just hate when I see people get on here who hypocritically point fingers at people. You hypocritically point fingers at people when I guarantee you there's plenty of fingers that can be pointed at you, my guy or girl. It doesn't matter about if I'm anti-empire. Yeah, but you weren't always. You can't sit there and tell me that you were always you always had the right politics. Is that what you're going to tell me? Whatever. Not answer the question. What were you doing when you were younger? Yes, I believe in the empire, but it was a lot. This is the point I'm trying to get across. Many of people join the military and they're deluded. They have false information. And to try to blame these young people for not, yeah, okay, yeah. So you were just smoking weed back then, so you were just being a degenerate. Okay. Oh, glad you were contributing. Glad you were doing something worthwhile. I'm guessing you probably had somebody to help pay for your college, or you had perspectives or whatever. My point is, it's not right to sit there and go and disparage a bunch of people and broad base a whole bunch of people. Yes, we were all young once. What I'm saying is, I was young once. A lot of these people who joined the military were young also. A lot of these people were young also. And to sit there and try to broad base and attack all these people, yeah, that's my point. That doesn't mean that they're deranged. What do you call them? Legitimately deranged. I don't know. I look at a lot of these people who sit there and quarterback from, who play Monday morning quarterback when you're older, and you poo-poo the young people. You should have known better. I know better. Bullshit. You didn't know better back then either. It's very easy to 10, 15, 20, 30 years later to look back at somebody else and tell them what they should have done. It's very Yeah, but and when I got in, Lady Alex, I ran across some who were there for nefarious reasons. It's a very small percentage, but there are ones who joined the military. I could like I remember because I joined before 9/11. I had plenty of them who were like who joined after 9/11 who was like, I came in to come and kill Arabs. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, this was your sole purpose to come into the military because you want to kill people? Because you hate and I ran into some of these people who were thinking that they were coming into some religious war. And it's like, what the yes, say that again. Recruiters lie like rugs to get these kids, especially when recruitment is down. You know what recruiters were telling me while this person was out there talking about smoking and drinking? You know what the recruiters were telling me about how I can go to all these other countries and party in all these different places and meet a whole bunch of women and get drunk and make money and get college money. And after 4 years, yeah, you'll have enough money to go to college and you'll be good to go. War is never, ever, 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 ever brought up as something to get you to join. In fact, many times you ask, hey, is this something that if war broke out, that is this possibility I can end up in some kind of that's never no, I don't know a single person who joined the military was like, yo, I really hope there's a war that I can go and shoot at people. Nobody is thinking that. In fact, everybody gets in the military thinking a war is never going to happen. Most of the people that I serve with never, ever, ever thought a war was going to happen. Never thought that they would have to, go through any of the crap that they went through. None of them ever thought that. Now you can say, "Oh, you should have known better." Okay, yeah. Again, and insult young people. Shut up, bad cookies. No, I definitely not that. I didn't want no part of going to. In fact, I didn't even pick Asia as any of my countries that I wanted to go to. Oh, actually, I don't think that's true. I think I wanted to go to Japan, but I wanted to travel. That was a big part of it. I was a poor kid from the Midwest who felt like if I didn't get out of where I lived, I might not survive. That's what that was part of my thinking. That living here is a dead end. That's what I thought about where I grew up. Where I live is a dead end, and it's going to end me either I'm going to be in a 9 to 5 job, which I'm just miserable, or more than likely, I might be tied up with the wrong person, end up catching a bullet. That's legitimately what I thought joining the military. Because I don't know how many of you guys are around in the 90s, but in a lot of the inner cities in the 90s, it was very, very violent. I was a pallbearer to more than 10 of my classmates through gang violence. So, thinking I want to get the hell out of this dangerous ass place and give myself a future. And when I see somebody like my uncle, who, rest his soul, was a retired major in the Air Force, his job even wasn't combat in a sense. His job was protecting the secrecy of a plane and keeping material secret. He wasn't out there killing anybody or boots on the ground in foreign soils. He did go to Turkey. But no, he went out there joining because his intention was to go teach the Arab something. My uncle joined the military in the time after Vietnam. After Vietnam, before Desert Storm, during peacetime. Nobody joins during peacetime expecting that war is going to come about. Most of these people join because they want college money. That is the overwhelming reason why people join the military. So, I mean, I honestly, man, especially Navy recruiters, all they talk to you about partying. That is the number one thing they talk about. Partying, make some money, college money. That's it. Get to see a whole bunch of new countries you've never seen. That's it. So I'll get off my my stand right now. Also, here's another thing. Sometimes the information you get, you can say it's like my school was a sister city to Sarajevo. At that time, we had a bunch of kids who were Bosnians who were coming to our schools. From their account, what they told us, the Americans came to save us. The Americans did save us. So this whole the military is always evil empire, it's kind of hard to push that narrative when we have people who are coming from this country who are saying the military saved us from a genocide. I mean, in my school, we easily had probably about 100 kids who were refugee students who were saved by the American military from Milosevic. So what do you do with that? How does that fit in your perfect narrative of course, joining the military is evil? Bad cookies. I never said I don't. Never shied away from it. I served a role to initiate colonization. No, I didn't. I never didn't serve nothing to colonize nobody. Hell you talking about? What I did do, and that's the reason why I got into politics the way I did after getting out of the military. That's the reason why I was a member of Vote Vets and Iraq and Afghanistan veterans. That's why I joined that, because I realized that how we were lied to. I realized that we were lied into these wars and we were forced into doing things against what we would want, and knowing that there was no way to just get out of this. That's why I joined those. That's why I joined those organizations. That's why I started protesting. That's why I was out on the streets trying to inform people about what the hell was going on. Because as easy it is for everybody else out here to think, oh, it should be clear and easy, there are still a whole lot of people out there who don't know any of this crap that goes on. There are people who don't know about the CEOs over there looking through the poppy fields and looking at how they can extract from these other countries. There are a lot of people who don't know any of this stuff. Still till this day. No, not just, oh, well, now we got all this internet. No. There are people who use their internet to play video games. That's it. In fact, the fact that anybody will be watching my channel or any of these other channels already puts you in an extreme minority, because most of the population is not paying attention to any of this stuff. No, you say I wasn't aware of it. In 2001, most people weren't aware of it. I don't know how old TTWSF SUF is. I don't know how old you are, but none of that information was really available at the time. Also, I was already active duty. What was I going to do? What was I going to tell them? No, I'm not doing nothing and go to jail? In which I didn't even go and do whatever the stuff you guys are thinking I did. Because I can guarantee you that. Let that guy just decide that he's not going to follow orders and he's not going to go. He's going to be away from his family anyway because he's going straight to the brig. And then when he gets out and they give him a bad conduct discharge, and he's out there trying to find work to take care of his family. 50, then at 50, you should know good damn well that information was not out there in the early 2000s. It was not just laying out there for everybody to know. That means you're 5 years older than I was. So that means that at the time that I was joining the military, you were well into your 20s. You telling me that in 99, 2000, well, in 98, 99, you knew 9/11 was coming? I know that, bad cookies. I never said that I didn't aid in this. Never did. But what I'm saying is, I think you guys are negating the propaganda that was going on and putting it all on these people as if they're making a choice with all the evidence. They're not making a choice with all of the evidence. Yeah, I know. I did the math. Twin Towers, you were 23. Did you think the Twin Towers was going to be hit that day? Because I definitely didn't think that they were going to be hit that day and that we would be facing war. I thought that I would be probably going out to go and party that night in Sicily. That's what I thought. That's what I was thinking. The last thing that was on my mind, in fact, one of the first things I did when I got in the military was clearing minefields in an area so they can start rebuilding houses in Bosnia for people to move into. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Nobody, you can't sit there and blame people for not being fucking psychic. But let's move on. Because that's right. It ain't about me. It's about the young people who are in now. Now, could you make an argument that some of these people should know better? Yeah, you can make an argument that some of these people should know better. But to expect that all of them know better, I don't think that tracks. I don't see no way that tracks that all of them should know better. Here's another thing. How many of y'all grew up in political families who were really engaged in all that stuff? Some people did, most people didn't. Like, for instance, at 21, if you would have walked up to me and started talking about MK Ultra, I would have looked at you like, huh? The hell are you talking about? If you would have told me, you know that the USA actually used to work with bin Laden, I'd be like, huh? For one, at probably, let's say probably at like 20, I would have been like, Bin Laden, that sounds familiar. What's that? Who's Bin Laden? I probably wouldn't even been able to tell you off the top of my head. The only Middle Eastern leader that I probably could have named off the top of my head back then would have been Saddam, because I knew about him during, Desert Storm. If you'd asked me what a Sunni or Shia, I wouldn't know what none of that stuff was. And most of them in the military don't know that either. All I'm saying is, when you're going after people, why don't you try to educate people a little bit and have compassion for people who don't know what you know. And it's an old Malcolm quote that basically goes into that. Everybody's not going to know what you know. Do you think most people know what the US is up to since 1492? No, I don't. I really don't. And the reason why I'll tell you I don't think most people know what the US is up to is because I talk to plenty of immigrants, especially ones that'll come from different parts of Asia or even Africa, like Nigeria, and they think the United States is one of the greatest countries ever, and that they're doing nothing wrong. They really have this whole America the Great, you know, viewpoint. Plenty of them don't look at the U.S. like what plenty other people do. I mean, I hear what you're saying. Military shouldn't be a choice. I mean, but it's hard it's hard for it not to be a choice when you have an impoverished community, not very many options, and you have them walking around in front of you saying, "Hey, we can throw all this money your way." I mean, that's the reason why a lot of people get into crime because hey, they can make some money over here. I mean, it makes perfect sense. You depress a community enough, you can get them to do things that they probably ordinarily wouldn't do. You telling me if most people had an abundance of good jobs that there'd be people selling drugs and climbing through windows? I don't think so. But see, Chris H says conservative Canadians love America and want to be American. There's a lot of people who don't see this stuff. And I think many of us get so deep in our own bubbles that it's just like, this information is obvious. Of course, you should know that. And this is why I like to go out and interview people on the streets. This is why I like to talk to people because I realize how much of this stuff that everybody in my audience would know 15 times over, the average person don't know. There's so much of it. There's people who I run into who vote in every freaking election. And you could just stomp them on some of the easiest stuff. Like, yo, who do you know who your state senator is? Do you know who your representative is? I mean, just basic stuff that they don't know. Like, do you know that the United States was fighting back and forth with Yemen? Like, who's Yemen? It's like I really think y'all give I think y'all give the American population way more credit for what they know than what. And I think at the same time, I don't think you guys give yourselves enough credit for how much you know and how knowledgeable you guys are on these subjects. It's not obvious, but you have to be looking for this stuff. If you're not looking for it, if you had nothing that's made you care about these subjects, you're not going to look for this information. Period. You're just not. That's what I would say. I just think that I think a lot of people take for granted the information that they know. I'm sorry, Allah. Are you Muslim by chance? TTWSUF. Are you a Muslim by chance? Because if you are a Muslim or if you are of Arabic descent, that would probably give more reason why you may be more aware of this. Because this is something that touches close to home. You're going to be more aware of this. If that's the case, I'm not saying that you are or not. I don't know either way, but I'm just saying it would be something that of course it's more impactful. And my goal is for us as a community as a whole, for my struggle and your struggle, for me to care about your struggle, for us to care about each other's struggle. That's what I'm saying. I didn't grow up around anybody who was a Muslim at all. I didn't even grow up around anybody who, well, okay, not Arabic. I didn't even grow up anybody. I want to say probably when I was around like 19. Well, actually, when I joined the military. Oh, South American? Muslim South American. Interesting. Guyanese. Oh, okay. Oh, well, glad to have you here. I think. Oh, well, another thing. If you're South American, that's another thing. That's not fair either. Because being a South American, I truly believe that people in other countries tend to be more aware of political things that are going on than Americans. And the reason why I would say so, and I'm not trying to go after any other country, I'm just saying that there are so many more distractions in America. There's so many more distractions that go on that keep you from paying attention to things, keep you blinded to the American propaganda. I think about every kid who I grew up with who loved nothing but action movies. You grow up action movies, you start to idolize the military and things like that to a degree. I grew up with multiple members of my family who were in the military who never served in any kind of war. So therefore, I got no war stories. Now, granted, I know there's a lot of people in here who got, I had a parent who was World War II, World War One. I didn't have any of that. Most of my family joined during peacetime. Were there during peacetime. Had jobs like logistics and stuff. They weren't. I mean, and the way the military is, for those who are not in the military, never been in the military, especially the U.S. military, it's so compartmentalized that you don't even realize how much you impact certain other things. It's literally like, okay, you're listening to this information, you're cataloging this information, and you send it here. That's it. On to this next thing. Catalog information, send it there. You have no clue what that information is used for, who that information is given to, what's done with that information. Yes, exactly. Yep, because it gets passed down religiously, history, LOL, ramble, exactly. All of those things are things that push towards that. I mean, I think something that should be taken out of schools, honestly, even though I did 4 years of JROTC, I think ROTC should be taken out of high school. It's grooming the kid to go to the military. And then you take a kid who, for instance, like me, who did Cub Scouts and stuff like that also. Do Cub Scouts. It's all of this is a grooming process and grooming somebody into being military one day. Hell, they lied to you in JROTC. You know what they Warren, what they mostly taught us in JROTC, because I was in Air Force Junior ROTC. They taught us about clouds and understanding weather. They taught us about military history, like Benjamin O. Davis, one of the first Black generals who went to Canada and got his pilot's license, and he was part of the Red Tails and how they fought against, the Nazis in World War II. That's the part we get. We didn't even hear the sides of it about how they were treating the Black soldiers when they got home from Vietnam and World War II. We weren't hearing about the stories of the lynchings and all that stuff. I had to dig that out on my own, and not from ROTC. I dug that information on my own. There is and that's what I'm saying. The level of propaganda the average American is just entrenched in. Teach it. Yeah, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. Teach us how to do tax investments. Here's another thing. There was a class I had that was called what was it? I can't remember what it was called, but this class anyway, it taught us how to balance checkbooks and how to work on a budget and how to work on a business plan. These kind of things need to be in school. You know, there needs to be, like, for instance, I learned the history, and since America is so big, you don't learn all the history of all of America. It's segmented to where you are. So when you're in California, you learn some stuff that's local to California. When you're in Texas, you learn some stuff that's local to your part of Texas. Like, I can't tell you how many people where they grew up in New York and they grow up talking about Seneca Village. That means nothing to most people across the rest of the country. But also, when you're a country of this size, there's so much to learn because there's so much history. There's so many things that went on in the name of the United States. So I don't know. Even though I have dispelled, and I guess this is the last thing I'll say on this start, kind of try to wrap and go to something else. I do, back to the whole like blood on your hands. I don't say that I don't. I don't shy away from it. And it shamed me, that I contributed to the stuff that I contributed to in the military. And that's what pushed me to become an activist, to try to stop others from going down that rabbit hole I went through the propaganda. So that's all I can say. Instead of shaming and insulting people, it's better to try to have compassion and teach and pull people away. Because a lot of times when you insult people, all they do is dig deeper, dig their heels in deeper, and continue to stay in this, this negative, pathway. Well, Rondell, I think you could, Rondo, I think you could hope. You can hope, and I think by some of us mentoring different things like that, you can teach people some of these skills without being actually in the school. Oh yeah, most kids who join the military are already somewhat indoctrinated before they even, thought about signing up. I mean, hell, look at every NFL game. They literally have military appreciation week, and you see there's just so much. And so, just like how we look at Israel, for instance, and how negative it is and how propagandized they are, this country is propagandized just as bad. Just as bad. But that's that. Well, the NFL will take dollars from anybody, so that's just the NFL. But what was it? I think I was saying something about ground troops going in. I guess I can close that one. But let me see. Where was that? Let me see. And I still won't back off my point of you don't need to disparage these young people. So something else I wanted to bring up with the war. Something else I wanted to bring up. Let me share my screen with y'all real quick. Hold on, young lady. Through the attacks that they've been doing over there in UAE, through the attacks that have been going on in the UAE, there have been Ew. That's a disgusting thought. Bad cookies? Gross. Um Charmonique, I've asked myself the same question. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's in season right now for everybody to be on their divisive tracks. I I want no parts of anybody who's trying to be divisive. So I just stay away from that kind of stuff. But let me show y'all this. Through this whole Israel-Iran war, I gotta make sure to get my camera a little bit more steady. It's bouncing all over the place. I'm going to just share this with you all. Oh, that's your thought to back. Okay. Yeah, Charmonique, I don't engage with FBAs at all. I just like avoid them. I don't even want to talk to them. Anybody who's paying anything, you're talking about, like I said this last week, if you're I am only engaging with alliances with people individually, no communities as a whole. If I can vibe with you, we'll do our community. And so it doesn't matter if you're black, Latino, if you are Arab, white. I'm building my coalition with whoever. I'm not worrying about some FBA alliance, some Latino alliance, black and brown alliance, Afro Latino. I'm not worried about none of this. White black alliances who I can build alliances with, because I find that there's nothing but division out there and nothing but people who are looking for more division as they go through their purity test. I'm about building with people who can build with something. So what did I want to show you guys? Oh yeah, that's right. Let me share my screen here. Hey Kate, good to see you. So one of the unintended effects that has been going on is the war that's been happening in Iran. And I know Trump can call it whatever the fuck he wants to. It's a war. I don't care if it's boots on the ground or not. You kill off the head of state of anybody else's government, you've went to war with them. Technically, we went to war with we went to war with Venezuela too, but they were like, hey yo, you got it. We're not gonna fight back. Bad cookies are starting mess today. I'm only you alone for a minute. And I wanted to share this real quick. Unintended consequence of this whole Iran thing. And this shows, remember how we were talking about all these things are connected. So if everything kind of weaves through a pattern, that's fine. But just pay attention to this real quick.
Strait of Hormuz may have just stopped genocide. Since April of 2023, Sudan has been in an active civil war between Sudanese armed forces, the SAF, and the paramilitary group called the Rapid Support Forces, or the RSF. And I need you to understand who the RSF is before we go any further. They're not just soldiers. They're a militia, the same militia that carried out genocide in 2000. The RSF has been accused of crimes against humanity, including the genocide of non-Arab populations. These accusations come from the International Criminal Court, the Human Rights Watch, Genocide Watch, and the United States federal government. Their forces have killed hundreds of thousands of non-Arab populations, including sexual violence against women and children systematically, imposed deliberate starvation and pillaging of homes, hospitals, and even places of worship. This is an active genocide happening right now, and we've been talking about it for years.
And also, I got to throw this out here: an unintended consequence also of this war in Sudan. You guys heard of the name Myron Gaines? Goes by the name of Fresh from Fresh and Fit. That's the reason why we have jackasses like this in this country, because of this war that went on. His family fled and came over here to start some bullshit. But anyway, I'll let her continue, because this is what's been going on for the longest. And I remember when I was trying to understand and figure this whole thing out and learning about the RSF. The RSF not only are tied in with the UAE, they're tied in with another country. You guys can already figure out who it is. And the reason why is its proximity, sitting on the other side of the water. There are a lot of what is it? I think it was over something trillion in natural gas that is trapped below the water right there on the other side of Gaza. And if you look at a map, Gaza's right there. Right on the other side, you have Sudan. And this with Sudan also ties into Eritrea and all that, and it starts tying in to one of Israel's largest exports, diamonds. You don't have diamonds, but somehow that's your largest export. Where are you getting these diamonds from? I'll let that sit there while you guys think about. I'll let that sit there while this plays, and you guys can think about what are the motivations to why money would be funneled into the UAE, and why the UAE would be funding over here the RSF, and what the RSF has to do with UAE and Israel.
And if you follow the money, like I tell y'all to, you will find out who's funding this genocide. And that would be the UAE, who is also mentioned multiple times in the Trumpstein files. Right, the same country who has normalized relations with is not real. The same country that sits on the Persian Gulf. The same country that's been running weapons to the RSF. So here's where the Strait of Hormuz comes in, because the RSF's main sponsor, the USC, has been unable to deliver ammunition and fuel to its allies for 2 weeks. And the reason is because of Iranian strikes. The Emirati air forces are hiding right now because it's simply just too dangerous to risk. So basically, the UAE is too busy hiding from Iranian missiles to fly weapons to the RSF. So without surprise, the RSF is losing its main advantage: power, mobility, and weaponry. And the Sudanese army has launched a major defensive, taking full advantage of this window. So US and Israel bombed Iran. Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz. That in turn grounded UAE's air force. UAE can no longer send weapons to Sudan to continue a genocide. So the people of Sudan, who nobody in Western media is talking about or covering the active genocide, may finally get some relief. Not because America cared, not because the UN acted, not because any international body took action, but because of a chain reaction. This is how interconnected the world really is. That is why you cannot fully understand a conflict in isolation. You got to understand all of it. You got to see the whole picture. Reading is important, people. Research is important, people. History is important, people. And listening to voices from these cultures is important. And please keep in mind that the same country that's clutching their pearls because of what's happening in Israel right now, in Tel Aviv, please remember that they were the same country that was actively ignoring and turning a blind eye to active genocide. They were not worried about it or clutching any handbags when there were weapons being flown to Sudan to unalive and grape Sudanese women and children. The USA has sanctioned Iran for decades, but it never sanctioned the UAE for actively participating in genocide in Sudan. Let that sink in. See, the UAE is an ally, so they get to have the label of partner. But Sudan is Black, African, Muslim, so it barely gets a headline. You already know why. So I'm telling y'all that the same war y'all think is just about it's not real and oil has its nasty ass tentacles into a genocide happening in Africa. And the people doing the genocide are American aligned. The Sudanese people deserve their story to be told. So please share this video, comment, repost, post it to your story, do all the things. Continue to keep your eyes on the Middle East and on Africa. And please remember, this story does not have heroes, nor does it have villains. And context matters. Truth matters. History matters. And consequences are not an attack.
Yeah, I'm glad she said that last part. This story doesn't have heroes or villains because the SAF on the other side, they're not angels either. They're doing a lot of horrendous things. But what I'm saying is, I would prefer a conflict be held within the people within its own borders. I don't like when another country is out there pumping money into a conflict to keep it going. Now, if the SAF takes out the RSF, and then okay, now this country is trying to stabilize itself and they're fighting their internal civil war, that's one thing. But they're when these outside interests are working to keep this going, that's where the problem is. I got this video from it's on X, but I guess I can try to go back through and see if there was see what her if she left a handle or anything there. Let's see. Oh, wait a minute. She did. Hold on a second. Let me put this back on the screen because it has her at on here. So yeah, it has her at, so you guys will be able to go to TikTok and find it. So it looks like it says at Kiki E. I can't. It looks like it says Kiki Ray or real, something like that. Actually, let me just make it large. Yeah, KIKIRAEREAL. And I'm probably gonna make sure to go over and follow her myself. That way I can stay abreast of what she's talking about over there. Um, I want to say, let me drop this down real quick. Says once crude oil, once crude oil takes like 30 years to make in Venezuela. Oh yeah, that's right. Yes, yes, that is it. So there was somebody else who added something in there, and I saved their comment also. Let me pull that up. This would have been a time where I wish I would have reached out to my good friend Sebs, and I'm sure she could have helped me out with this. But okay. This comment here, let me put it back on the screen. It says, actually, I can't even see that. Let me hop back over. I guess, same thing they do to Tigrayan people. Over 1 million people killed in the last 5 years. UAE using Ethiopian government to eliminate Tigrayan, Amhara, and Eritrea. Yes, the Ethiopian puppet is stopped for now. Thanks for Iran. So, yeah, this is something that's also going on. Actually, let me just go ahead follow both of them while I'm at it. But yes, that whole little peninsula that you have there is all being inflamed by UAE. And that's the reason why when people are freaking out about, oh, why they're being attacked right now, I don't have too much of a problem with UAE being attacked right now because I know the dirt that they're doing. I mean, I get it. Yes, they're trying to do all this entertainment stuff, and oh, it's fun for people to travel there and all that. But nah, we're gonna talk about the other stuff you're doing too. Oh wow, she using the book of Habakkuk, which not many people read that part of the Bible. Impressive. Says Habakkuk 2 verse 12. Woe, parentheses, death, to him that buildeth a town with blood and establisheth a city by iniquity. I don't know, maybe I need to read that again so y'all can think about that when people start talking about moving these borders and all that. And I get it. I know people don't really love all the religious stuff, but let me just read this for you one more time. Woe or death to him that buildeth a town with blood and establisheth a city by iniquity. Because that's what happened when they start splitting up these countries. They start splitting up these countries and creating new borders. That's also part of the problem, which we have with Iran, Iraq, Turkey, and Syria, because the Kurds, they diced up their land and they split them out instead of it being a whole land of Kurdistan that should be there. That's part of the reason why India has a problem with China, because of them going in and messing with their borders. That's the reason why on the other side, India and Pakistan have their issues, messing with their damn borders. And there's so many of these countries, and it was Great Britain that did most of this. Keep in mind. That's the reason why it's hard to believe that a country that's the size of the UK did all of the stuff that they did, the massive impact that they've had on the whole entire world. I think I might have to double check this number to be certain, or double check this number before just going and throwing it out there to everybody. But do you know that there's well over 100 countries, I've heard as many as 160 countries that celebrate independence from Great Britain? Or let's just say, that's right, somebody said don't call them great. From Britain. Over 160 countries. God, can you stay at home? Can you leave people the fuck alone? That's crazy that you were in that much. And if you just take Britain, Spain, Portugal, France, and the United States, these 5, how many countries that they have just fucking dismantled? I mean, these 5 have done so much destruction on the whole entire rest of the world. People that weren't even doing shit to them. Hey again, Jackie. But yeah, people weren't doing nothing to them. But them 5, man, couldn't stay at home, couldn't just build their shit up. Or the only way they can build their shit up is by tearing somebody else's shit down. It's just disgusting. I also want to share another one with y'all. The brother Vic had some words. And I was like, oh, I know, for the ladies who, little eye candy for the ladies. I know some of y'all love Vic. But he's dropping some wisdom in here, and so wanted to share. And I guess I just like the way he laid out his premise. So lay this out, share this video, and hopefully y'all pick up what he's laying down.
Is a terrible fucking idea. Our troops dancing to the Migos. Them niggas gonna take off on us. In my last video about Iran, I made the mistake of presenting what seemed like moral equivalence between the Iranian government and the U.S. of Israel. That's just nowhere near fucking accurate. To read more of my newsletter, comment, subscribe. As black rain falls on Tehran, it looks like fucking Armageddon. I mean, the scale of destruction our country is responsible for is just incomparable in human history, from chattel slavery to the genocide of the Native Americans to Hiroshima to killing 1 million people next door in Iraq. The Iranian people have an organic resistance and a struggle for their own freedom. But a conversation of nuance is just incomplete without consideration of the imbalance of power and the role of the U.S. in creating the people's suffering. We can't even understand the situation in Iran without considering 40 years of crippling economic sanctions we put on them, not to mention overthrowing their leader, installing U.S. puppets, stealing the oil. I just learned 1/3 of the planet is under U.S. sanctions, and that's responsible for 38 million deaths in the last 50 years. It's just not comfortable. Also funny that the United States keeps looking to free nations with the most oil on earth. They like, you know what you need? Democracy. To be unequivocally clear, the U.S. has no fucking right to attack Iran. Okay, going back to my last post too, language matters. And some of my previous language didn't fully represent the situation. Yes, from a Western perspective, morality policing seems off, and anyone being jailed for what they wear feels unjust. But it leaves out the fact that women are 60% of the university students in Iran. Not every woman is just without all opportunity, which also suggests that women are free in the United States and becomes an imperial cry when it's like Sandra Bland, filmmakers being jailed. Feels weird to me because I would be one of the filmmakers in jail for sure for this one. But at the same time, Iranian cinema is world renowned, disproportionately represented at Cannes Film Festival. 2 Iranian films recently won Academy Awards. It's just more to the story. I think ultimately, despite the internal political realities in Iran and the things that people face, America is such a repressive, violent system that it has no right to claim moral superiority, and that's not why the fuck they're invading. I do believe the greatest threat to human rights globally is the very empire in which I sit at the heart of. And so that should be the primary target of my critique personally. I always want to be open to adjusting my perspective as I learn new information. And I never want to contribute or lend legitimacy to the war crimes of America and Israel. To read an interview with an Iranian woman who's an expert on these issues, comment, subscribe for my newsletter. Boots on the ground in Iran is a terrible fucking idea. Our troops dancing.
And so since he broached that up, I second and 1000% agree. Boots on the ground in Iran is a fucking terrible idea. The one thing and this is what happens when when you put people in power who just should never have power. Pete Hegseth was one of those guys that was in the military who, remember I told you there was that small percentage that joined on some jihad crap and these Christian fundamentalist types who believe America is the new Jerusalem and they need to take out terrorists. These people need to be the furthest away from the military as possible. Most of them are basically, secretly are white supremacists who that's where everything starts and begins with them. They only want to join the military because they've been brought up into this holy war mindset from, basically the whole Schofield Bible. If for those who are not familiar with the Schofield Bible, this is the reason why you're dealing with people who believe in dispensationalism. This is the reason why most of the churches have the viewpoints that they have in America right now about end time prophecy and Israel needs to be in the land and we need to go against the battle of Armageddon in there. This is the reason why most of these people view this way. And you have a lot of people within our government who I believe that are accelerationists. These people are trying to push us towards, Armageddon, or the Battle of Armageddon, aka World War III, the third woe. And I think these people are trying to push us there. And that's why I said, you don't have to believe in the Bible. I know there are plenty of people who don't like the Bible, don't believe in the Bible in here, don't believe in God. That's irrelevant right now. My point is the people who have power do believe in this. And this is what they're trying to push for. So whether you believe in it or not, if somebody who has power is trying to make this happen, you need to pay attention to it because you got to live through the consequences of what these people decide to do. That's my point, which I'm trying to bring up. It's not about believing in what they believe in. Even if you don't have Christ return and come down and join this battle or whatever, they still have us in the middle of a battle that will lead to more than likely a draft, which now they put a bill out to try to do an auto draft. So now as soon as you hit 18, you're automatically just going to be entered into it anyway. So if they need to, they don't need to have people going to the post office and dropping off some paperwork at 18. Yes, exactly, Chris H. I'm like, whether you believe that God is aligning this or whether you believe man is aligning it, regardless, is happening. And so you got to deal with it one way or the other. Oh, I agree with what you guys are saying. I believe Israel is definitely trying to push this. And if you go into the Epstein files, you go and look at it, who did Epstein? Do y'all know who Epstein said that he worked on behalf of? I'm curious. Do y'all know who he said he worked on behalf of? Because I got another video for y'all. I'm gonna show y'all something real quick. Let me go get that video while I give y'all a chance to respond. Who did he say he worked on behalf of? Because we all have theories on who he. Oh my God. To the front of the class, sir. To the front of the class. This man told y'all who he worked for. This man told y'all who he worked for. That's the reason why they need blackmail. They need all that stuff because presidents are not out there just getting a email or a fax or a phone call and just hopping and doing things. They are running the day-to-day to a degree. But there is somebody in particular who was amassing all of this intelligence and all of this information to use and to twist arms to force people. If you look back into what the Illuminati started to do in the 1800s and 1900s, what they started doing is they stopped trying to get the position of power. They worried about controlling the wealth of the nations and getting into the advisor roles. This is why I tell people, look at who they have surrounding them. Look at the money. Look who's advising the president. Don't necessarily look at who the president is. Don't look at the prime minister. Look at who's advising them. Look at who's in the position. Who's the chief of staff? Who's over treasury? These are the people you need to be watching, because these are the ones who twist the head. Like I remember this old saying, like I heard a woman say, yeah, a man is the head of the household, but I'm the neck that turns that head. This is what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with a situation where somebody, yeah, they're like, you can be the figurehead, but I'm going to turn that head whichever way I want it to go. Exactly. Speak on it. Speak on it. Y'all should know that. Y'all should all know that quote. Oh, wait a minute. Let me put this on the screen. I've been said this. I'm like, so y'all really believe that it's some Arab families out there who are basically trillionaires, but yet they still getting bitched around? Y'all really believe that? They got way more money. They got enough money that they could do all kind of amazing things, but somehow all of these trillionaires in the Middle East can't put their money together and tell the US to go, go pound sand. Because somebody out there has more money and more power and more control than all of them. And they sit back most of the time and never get involved in anything. They don't put their hands on nothing. Okay. I'm not Catholic, but I don't believe in the rapture either. I don't believe in none of the dispensations. I think, though I probably agree and believe in the Bible, I don't have the same interpretations of anybody within Christianity. Let's see. Let me sip my coffee. So, what did where's that video I wanted? There's another video I wanted to show y'all real quick. Don't worry, y'all. I got a positive video to end this off with. Okay. So let me put this. Hold on a second. Let me stop this so I can get this paused. There we go. Let's put this on the screen. Yeah, but I think Saudis are players in the game, just like UAE. They doing basically they facilitate the same kind of stuff that UAE is doing. That's the one I want.
Right? You ever look at your textbook when you were a little kid? It was made by McGraw.
Oh, that's the publisher.
That's the publisher.
Oh my god.
That was apparently founded by
Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend's dad.
Like this is how evil the Epsteins were. Not only were they kids, they were also giving them homework.
Yes.
It's like, damn, bro.
That's messed up.
That's crazy.
Big ass books
Yeah,
too.
I know, right?
Carry these around your backpack.
You had to cover the book yourself.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You had to give it its own yarmulke.
Oh my god, dude. We did. That was the thing. We had to cover our own books. They wanted us to cover it up so you couldn't see who made it.
I wonder what company owns the book cover.
I don't know. The company that takes all the school pictures.
No, you're right. That's like big news right now.
Yeah.
Are you schools this year are canceling their school pictures because of this connection?
Yeah, the company is heavily connected to that.
So they've been sending their photos over there too?
Probably. That's just
That company's name is Jostings, which they take the pictures. They also do your class rings, and I believe they do a lot of the Letterman jackets too.
Picking us out. Just picking us out of the school yearbook.
Draft board Mel Kiper style of every picture of every kid in America.
Yeah,
and they're just sitting there.
Yeah, like a fantasy draft.
I am never making fun of a homeschool kid again.
Here, I'll let it replay because I wasn't able to like pull it up and start it from the beginning. So I'll let it replay again so I can hit the beginning.
Every single textbook we got as a kid came from a Mossad agent. By the way, McGraw-Hill, you know who started that? Ghislaine Maxwell's dad. Robert Maxwell owns, every single textbook we got as a kid came from a Mossad agent.
Oh my fucking god.
Yeah.
Not my Texas history book. not all 11 of them.
Okay, who is McGraw-Hill?
They made all the textbooks, right? You ever look at your textbook when you were a little kid? It was made by McGraw-Hill.
Oh, that's the publisher.
That's the publisher.
Oh my god.
That was apparently founded by Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend's dad.
Like this is how evil the Epstein.
So yeah, I ran that back so we can go over that again. Because remember, we talked a little bit about education and stuff like that, and the propaganda and the brainwashing and stuff like that. This is how the hooks get dug in really, really early. And this is how they're able to manipulate so well. Before McGraw-Hill, most of this stuff was made literally by the Rockefellers. The Rockefellers used to be on all of this stuff. And so the Rockefellers put this together along with McGraw-Hill. One thing you'll start to see is all of the interests always work back to certain other nations. If you think about it, how much about like slavery do they really even talk about in the books, in the school books? I mean, there's hundreds of years and it's basically summed up to like what, a couple of pages and a couple of paragraphs. Genociding of the Native Americans and the Mexican Repatriation Act and all of these different things, the over 400 treaties with the Native Americans that were broken. How much of that do you hear about in school? Most of the stuff you don't hear about, you have to learn later on. But what part of your history book, no matter what school you went to, no matter what state or city, that all of us as a whole had to know about? And it was not only a couple of paragraphs, not a couple of pages. You have damn near a whole chapter every year to have to learn about one event that happened over roughly 7, 8 year period. Yeah, they don't talk about the 50 million bison. That doesn't come up in school. Heck, we learn more about World War II, one incident that happened in World War II, than any of the other battles that were going on during World War II. Not the War of Independence. That's not the one we learn the most about. We don't even learn that much about that. They don't go into all of the different battles that were fought for the War of Independence. They don't even go into outside of World War II. The next probably talked about thing we learned about is maybe the Civil War. Civil War, maybe that's it. And then America kind of skips from the Mayflower, Thanksgiving, get a little touch on World War One. Most people don't even know what the heck World War One was even about, how it started, any of that. We don't learn very much about the War 1812. We don't learn very much about Hawaii even becoming a part of America, or the Louisiana Purchase for a lot of school kids is not even a thing that's really talked about. There's a lot of areas that is just completely just jumped right over. You learn about a couple of different vendors, learn about the founding fathers, your Thomas Jeffersons and, uh, Benjamin Franklin, and maybe you'll learn a little bit about, they don't talk about Archduke Ferdinand. At least most of the people I've talked to don't know anything about that. How many people know about what is it? Kill the Indian, save the man. Yeah, they don't talk about none of the stuff that happened with Cuba. Spanish American War. How much we talk about that? Yes, how Hawaii was stolen, how the West Coast was stolen. If you grew up outside of Texas, how much do you even learn about the Alamo? There's giant chunks of American history that we basically just skim right over. No, most people don't even know about that. What you brought up, Abby, $5 Indians. Most people don't even know much about that. That right there, honestly, you're dating yourself, because the more you scoot up in history, the less that the more you scoot up in time, the less that they taught. If you went to school probably in the 60s, I guarantee you learned a lot more than the kids in the 70s, and kids in the 70s learned more than the 80s, and the 80s learned more than the 90s. And I don't know what the hell these kids are learning now. It's probably terrifying what they're learning, or not learning. Probably terrifying what they're not learning. Like, I remembered having a debate with somebody. He was like, I don't need to know nothing about Haiti. And then turn right around and is like, oh, I don't know at all who the Celanese is. You don't need to know about it, but you don't know one of the major figures who led to it being a country and how it became a country. And it's a reason behind that. Reason why you don't learn history. In fact, I guarantee you, more people know about Greek mythology than they do a lot of American history. But also ask yourself, why don't we learn anything about, anybody ever learn anything about Pol Pot? Anybody learn anything about Mao? How much do you really know about any of the Roman czars? I mean, not Roman, but Russian czars. How much do we learn about Africa at all? At all. The only thing they even talked to you about Africa was about the slave trade, and you might have learned about Egypt. You didn't learn nothing about the Songhai Empire, the Axum Empire, Ghana, Timbuktu, the Zulu Nation. You didn't learn anything about any of this stuff. In fact, I've run into plenty of Africans that don't even know about that stuff. They'll come over and say, we had no history before Europeans came. How many people know about how many people in school were learning anything about the Moors and their conquest into Spain? And as they start spreading out across Europe. There's so much that got buried. So much that got buried. Her bad wig is distracting. Who's bad wig? Let's see what the so Gusano. Yeah, no fan of the Gusanos, definitely. Yeah, they don't want to talk about more Spain. Oh, they don't. I mean, do they even explain what the Dark Ages was about? They just tell you there was a Dark Ages. That's it. Skip next thing. Hell, Renaissance. You know, what is a Renaissance? Let's see who's paying attention in class today. What does Renaissance mean? Yeah, exactly. TT. Can you actually trying to think what's the best way to refer to you so it's a little shorter? I'll just say TT. Yeah. Well, see, you learned that the UK defeated them. Over here, they just teach that America defeated them. Thank you. Well, Rondo be on it, huh? It's rebirth. So what is it being reborn? Why is it being reborn? What happened? What happened for there to need to be a rebirth? None of that history is even talked about. Yeah, it was Churchill. You know how many kids? I bet you can go up to the average kid right now. They don't know who Churchill was. There's just so much that's not even talked about. So much is not taught. And therein is how you propagandize people. If I don't know what happened in Vietnam, and I don't know what happened in Korea, and I don't know what happened in Panama, and I don't know what happened in the Spanish American War, World War II, and on and on and on, you can fill my head up with anything. If I don't know about Black soldiers coming home and being lynched in their uniforms, you can feed me this narrative that the military is not racist. Which there's still a lot of racism in the military today. They don't bring up anything about how descendants of slavery, how many of them escaped to Canada and the UK to get away from slavery and racism. Keep in mind, these two places had slavery and racism also, and they just happen to be not as bad as the US. In fact, in the national anthem, what was his name? Francis Scott Key was basically throwing a diss at those slaves who ran away to Britain. Oh yeah, well they don't even bring up India. They definitely don't bring up the most you'll know about anything having to do with Asia is the the Chang Dynasty. You go all the way back to, back to those days in Imperial Japan. Get a little skim of that, and you learn about the Crusades that happened. But if you know who teaches you, if you know who's responsible for our textbooks, then you understand why. And it also, by them not putting that information out there, it leads to why we have to deal with a lot of these jackass racists that you run into on platforms like X. Because if they don't teach you your culture, they don't teach you other people's histories, how can you push back and defend that you had a history and culture? That's the reason why I think it's dangerous that they don't teach it. It pushes white supremacy because you only learn about white people doing shit. But yeah, we don't talk about the Opium Wars. Hell, we don't talk about the Chinese who helped build the railroads. We don't talk about the fact that during slavery in America, there was, if you weren't white, you were enslaved. Now, some people had longer lengths of that slavery, and honestly, here's the crazy part about it: that slavery went different from place to place to place. And one thing that they never, ever, ever, ever bring up, because I've heard people say, "Well, it doesn't make sense. If this many people came from Africa, then how did you have this many black people enslaved in Africa?" Do y'all not know about breeding farms? Really, y'all don't know about breeding farms. That was a thing that was pervasive during slavery. Breeding farms. You know what? That's a whole different conversation. I mean, it always gets me fired up and ticked off about how piss poor the education is in America. And that is on purpose. It's on purpose. Speaking of the education system, even some of the supposed smart ones show how not smart they actually are. I don't know if you guys seen anything about, actually, you know what, before I hop into that, I know this does not have to do with anything that I was bringing up in particular, but you know what, since we're on history and we're talking about stuff, let me bring this up. Let me show y'all this video. I'm gonna bring this up and show y'all this, just because it needs to be shown.
On it. You know what plantation they've never shown us, Abby? The most prominent ones, the ones that were most profitable, the breeding plantations. Why don't you want to show us those? You know why? Because after the research that I did for this album, you realize that the moment that a girl menstruated, she was put in a stable where a horse would be and forcibly mated, forcibly raped by a male of the slave master's choice. And when she had children, they weren't called children, they were called a litter of pups. The punishment for raping or killing a person in medieval Spain is gelding. Gelding is when you take hot pincers and you take a man's balls and dick off root and stem. Killing a person, law of the Bible, right? Medieval Spain, super religious. You killed a man, he should be killed. Why were indigenous and black people categorized as subhuman? So under the law, you would not be punished for the things that you did to us. That's why. You used to be proud, right? Used to be proud, white America, of rape and murder. Used to be proud of colonization. Used to, wow, that made us tough. And then you got ashamed of it. And that's what you're dealing with. That's what America's dealing with, a schizophrenic crisis. There's a British manual, right, that was taken out of the British Museum because within the manual, it talked about how rape was a weapon of war that should be used against the indigenous population. You're ashamed of that now. You're ashamed, right? Who was Christopher Columbus? His image has been so whitewashed, but he was trafficking little girls on an island. Who does that sound like, huh? They've shown us every plantation with cotton on it.
Yeah, he was trafficking little girls on the island. Who does that sound like? And here's the thing about it. He used to say in his journals, the ones that I read, it said that his favorite was girls from the ages of about 6 to 9 years old. That's what the little sicko liked. That's what he liked. And this is not often talked about, but do you know, at least out of the so-called Americas, first slaves that he took were 500 Tainos to Spain. Now, so that we throw this out there also, before he was doing this, why do you think that they would have felt he would be so suitable for this task? Because he was already doing it off the coast of West Africa, taking slaves into Europe, taking African slaves into Europe already. But you know what? I just wanted to put that out there. We can move on. Move on. Because I've been a little too long-winded today. And I got other things that I need to bring up. Yeah, I don't know if y'all saw this about the DEI guy. This is just one of them. One of the little shitheads. The other one, I don't have a clip of him. I could probably find it easily, but he's even more infuriating. I don't know if you guys saw this, but right now, the Doge staffers, they're having to go through a deposition right now because they're being sued. This is a little clip from one of the guys being deposed.
Interpret DEI.
There was the EO explicitly laid out. The details, I don't remember it off the top of my head.
It's okay. I'm asking for your understanding of it.
Yeah, my understanding was exactly what was written in the EO.
Okay. So can you...
I don't remember what was in the EO.
So right now, do you have an understanding of what DEI is?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's your understanding as you sit here today in this deposition?
Well, it was exactly what was written in the EO. And so anytime that we would look at a grant through the lens of complying with an executive order, we would just refer back to the EO and assess if this grant had relation to it.
Okay. But I guess stepping back from your methodology strictly in terminating the grants, do you have an understanding as you sit here today of what DEI means?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's your understanding of what it means?
Well, it is exactly what was written in the EO.
Okay, so
and I don't have the EO in front of me, but that was we would always reference back to the EO and make sure that this grant was in compliance with the EO.
I understand that. Okay, but I'm not asking necessarily about what was in the EO. I'm asking very specifically about your present understanding of what of DEI. Do you have a present understanding of DEI?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you explain what that present understanding is?
Well, it is just easier for me to be referencing back to the EO.
Are you refusing to answer the question?
I'm not refusing to answer the question.
Okay.
I just feel that referencing back to the verbatim executive order was the best way for us to capture all of the DEI language. And so I think giving a high-level overview of what I could relay as DEI is not going to do justice what was written in the EO.
And that's okay. We can look at the EO as well. Great. I'm asking you this is a deposition. I'm asking you questions. You're under oath. You're required to answer them. So what is your understanding of what DEI means?
Well, I think I would say, again, that I would go back to the EO to make sure I'm capturing enough. I don't feel comfortable saying a high level overview because it is such a big bucket, and there's just a lot of pieces of the puzzle.
What's a part of the bucket?
Gender fluidity, sort of promoting,
I figure I'll just stop it there because it just goes around and around in circles. This dude saying he understands something, but yet will not define what he understands of it. And I got the feeling like this is just the start of it. Once they really start going through these jackasses, because it shows they obviously don't know what the hell they were doing, since Trump would fire people and then they have to hire the people right back. But this one, he kind of aggravated me more than anything, because it's like, you don't have the backbone to just say what the fuck you think. Just spit it out. If it's on your mind, just say it. It's what you think, say it. Why are you playing games? You know that you guys went in there for one purpose more than anything: to shut down anything that had to do with making Elon look bad, shut down any investigations going after Elon, and steal information that you can use for later, while at the same time, anything you don't like against the libtards or any of the LGBTQ community. And that's what you guys' main focus was about. And then just a little bit of, let's see, I found the other little jackass. He's even more smug.
So I mean, a question about, let's say, whether a grant was violative of, or had DEI in it, for instance, or was it borderline call? How would you get clarity on how to?
Him, oh my God, you could tell this dude was just, you can tell this dude grew up with assholes for parents, and he has been raised to just grow up and be just a little shithead, just a little spoiled prick. And I mean, it almost seems like this is what happened when you give incels a lot of power and money. They run around like little fucking tyrants. But here, let me back it up and we'll play a little bit. Well, I guess I don't have to back it up. I'll just let it go from here.
Deal with that.
Justin and I made a personal judgment call and then reviewed that judgment call with Mike and with Adam.
Okay. Do you have any history in, like, let's say, scholarly peer review?
No.
Okay. So, but this judgment call was made by you and your personal judgment combined with Justin's personal judgment to cancel grants based on DEI?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think it's inappropriate in any way that someone in their 20s with no experience with grants or federal government was making personal judgment calls about what grants to cancel?
Objection. No, I don't think it's inappropriate.
Okay. Why not?
Objection. I think a person can have enough judgment from reading books and being well informed outside of traditional experience to make judgment calls about obvious things like a grant that literally lists DEI in its description to know whether it violates an executive order.
Okay.
I don't think you need to have a scholarly peer review background to do that.
Okay. So presumably you read some of these books that would have informed you on how to cancel a grant based on DEI?
Objection. I did not read a book on how to discern whether a grant includes DEI or not. I read the actual description of the actual grant.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm saying books because you said books. What books would you have read that would have informed your opinion on what grants to cancel based on DEI or not?
There were no books.
Okay. So there are no books. Anything else that would have informed you on how to do this?
No.
Just kind of.
So you have it there. These guys are just winging it off of what they felt like doing. Like, well, I don't have anything as far as like what qualifies. you don't know what these grants are talking about, and you read everything on a surface level, skim through a title, look for keywords, and that was it. You don't even know what these grants were the purpose of, what the cause were, why these grants were instituted in the first place. You're just seeing a word and cut, trash. But this is why you don't bring like some of these people in at all. For one, who would put some 20-year-old punk in charge of something like that without it having massive review? Even in the military, when they put people in charge of multi-million-dollar equipment, there's oversight. You're not just allowed free range to just do whatever the hell you want to. But yet they let this little twit get in there and deal with millions of American Social Security information, grants and stuff like that can affect somebody's life out there. This dude literally has lives in his hands, and he just does it casually, carefree. I saw this one term in there. I don't care what it's for, but let me just cut it. I don't care the context of it. That's the reason why history is so important, understanding things, because you raise little psychos like this. Gets in there. He doesn't care what he's in there for. Hey, it says DEI. If I see anything that has to do with minorities, anything that has to do with LGBT, and women, I don't care. If it's anything that helps any group in any kind of way, cut. Without understanding the context of why you need that. You need that in a country which has showed discrimination towards all of those groups, because you cannot trust for this government to behave in the way that they should behave. That's the whole point of all these grants and stuff, because they have shown that they are not trustworthy to do what they should do on their own. So these grants and things that were put together are it's kind of like why do we have warning labels on things? Because somebody did something that you were like, oh shit, I can't just assume this is common sense. This isn't common sense. Let me put a warning on it, because somebody will do this if I say don't do this. It's like in the government. These people will intentionally only help other white men unless you tell them, no, you can't explicitly do that. But I'm done looking at this little psychopath. People like this make me think nothing but violence. God, such a punchable face. Such a punchable face. Let's see. Chris H says here, the anti-establishment left, like Jimmy Dore and Due Distance, have to stop being anti-DEI. U.S. Military veterans were using DEI to get work in civilian world. There's so many reasons why things are done, but if you don't take the time to actually read through and vet a program properly, you just cut. And when you're dealing with tech, you can do that with tech, because you can always like reintegrate it. You can go, oh, that didn't work, trash that, restart. Well, you're dealing with actual people's lives. You can't just fucking do shit like this. And he doesn't have the wherewithal or common sense to understand you're not dealing with just zeros and ones. You're dealing with actual real people when you cut this shit. But even when you explain to them, they don't give a fuck, because they don't care about anybody. And I realize, Jimmy, I've kind of lost hope with Jimmy on stuff like that. Due Dissonance, I mean, I still hold out some hope. I like their content. I think that they do a lot of good work. Do I think they have some blind spots? Definitely. And I don't know, someday I would like to collab with them. I don't know, it may happen, may not ever happen, but I won't hold out my criticisms of how they go at DEI in such a piss poor way. And I'm like, you guys grew up 2 white Jewish kids. You don't know what the fuck any of this stuff has to do. You don't understand any of these things. And I definitely don't want to hear from I don't even listen to Jimmy anymore, so I don't know what the fuck he's talking about these days. I don't know. I lost respect for Jimmy a long time ago when I realized he'll try to act like he's the first one to something when literally you're just the one of the big names who got a hold of it after everybody else has been talking about it ad nauseum. Yeah, what the EO says. The EO says. Yeah, exactly. Complete DEI. Hire unqualified white man to just do it because he's white. Yeah, because I don't want to. Exactly. Thank you, Mariah. And oh yeah, put that out there. Hopefully, we'll be doing a collabo sometime soon, and be bringing Mariah in also. So I look forward to that. I always look forward to a collaboration. But yeah, I just had to bring up that DEI thing because it just, I don't know, it just really irritated me. At least stick up and say what you're reasoning for, why you're doing what you're doing. If you say, hey, I didn't weigh into whether I agree with him or not. I was told just cut this, cut that, cut that. And so therefore that falls back on my supervisor. I was just doing what I was told. I can respect that more than anything because you're not you're doing what you're instructed to do. And but here's the thing about it. These guys know what they're doing. Most of these people have, just like Elon, a disdain for women, a disdain for people of color, a disdain for people of the LGBTQ. And they have this idea of if you're trying to help with equality, then that's almost the same as as treating them unfairly. And it's not taking away anything. I mean, it's like that one jackass that Trump tried to put in power who was trying to say like that, about the whole white victimhood thing. It's like, white people still control mostly everything in this country, still hold most of the positions of power, still hold most of the CEO positions, white men in particular. Because I like to put that line in the sand, white men, because you get a lot of feminists who throw men, and it's like, no, all men are not being created equal. All are not treated equal. You can't throw all men in on the whole feminism thing because black men are not at all in the same boat as most white men as a whole. No. Yeah. Let's see. Doge is just an incel guild. Yeah, I definitely believe most of them are incels. Well, that's the thing. Once this deposition keeps going, and by the time you have it sitting on the other foot, where after the midterms, I guarantee you these people are going to be in a lot of hot water. And I've been saying this for a while. A lot of these people in the Trump administration, because they have watched Trump do the Teflon Don thing and him always be able to wiggle out of all trouble and nothing hits him. It does not mean because you work for him, you're Teflon also. Some of these people I think are going to go to jail. I think Kristi Noem is definitely probably going to go to jail at some point. I could see Kash Patel, in some hot water, with perjury and things like that. I can see a handful of the Trump administration actually possibly seeing jail time. And I could tell you majority of them at a minimum, their political careers are over after this. So you already know that they're trying to cash in as much as possible, and they're probably going to end up being nothing but lobbyists for the rest of their careers. All right, sorry, getting caught up. I was so far behind on it. Pam Bondi. Oh, I can think Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi would probably definitely go to jail. Stephen Miller, I can see him going to jail also. Once some of this stuff starts getting leaked out, stuff they're hiding, I think it's going to be bad news for a lot of them. I don't, Nina, I disagree with that. You said they think the world is ending, though. So I don't think that they think the world is ending. I do not think that they think the world is ending. The reason why I'll say I definitely don't think they think the world is ending is because, in fact, that's right. You're a person of faith, so I can go in and put this one towards you. It says, in their inward hearts, they believe their houses will go on forever. Meaning, these people don't believe that an end is coming. And if there is an end coming, they're going to be raptured out of this, so nothing's going to touch them. That's what a lot of these people think. But that's not how it's going to work. That's not how any of this works. Yeah. I think they just believe that they're never going to be touched by anything because they've been able to do things untouched. And they think that because Trump is untouchable, they're untouchable. And it does not work that way. I think literally when they're sitting in a situation where maybe bombs are actually coming down on their head, they're going to be in complete and utter shock because they believe that they can start, World War III and it's no consequences will come back on them. I think Hegseth might be going to jail himself too. That's another one where I can see definitely going to jail. Let's see. What was the other one that I wanted to bring up? Did I have that video saved? I don't think I had that video saved, but bear with me. I will pull this up real quick. But I wanted to bring up Scott Bessent because this video with Scott Bessent is very eye-opening. It's very eye-opening. And seeing this, I don't play poker, but I would like to play poker against it. I'd like to play poker against Scott Bessent. Seeing what I saw of him, let's see. Where did I put this video? Let's see, not there. Actually, I guess I'll just look it up. Scott Bessent, body language. All right, so here I found the video. Now let me share my screen with you all. So here we go. I don't know what he was actually told, but the same thing that he saw in here is the same things that I was like, I agree with you. I see it. And for those who are not familiar with getting a baseline on people and trying to be able to tell, people who are very public, they're even easier to be able to read because there's so much stuff out there where you can get more information on their baseline by looking at different types of interviews. It's a little harder with somebody you only met once, but here I'm a mute up and play some of this.
Scott Bessent's return from Trump's Situation Room is the perfect example of how even the most seasoned communicator gets betrayed by the one signal his discipline can't fully suppress. Watch.
No, the president is in great spirits. The Iranian mission is proceeding well ahead of schedule. And
Scott Bessent.
Oh, take care, Lady Alex. Thanks for showing up. Glad to see you here. And anybody else who's about to leave that I missed, my apologies for not seeing you.
U.S. Treasury Secretary, macro investor, and one of the most composed communicators in Washington was sitting down for a long-form interview on the Master Investor podcast with Wilfred Frost. He was relaxed, he was fluent, he was deep inside a conversation about Japanese economic policy when Trump called. Besant left for the Situation Room. Over an hour later, he came back. You just watch his first moments on camera after that visit. And if you're wondering what exactly changed, most people have been looking in the wrong place entirely, because the answer is not in his face and it's not in his eyes. We're about to find out exactly where it is. Welcome back, my body language buddies. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the body language guy, and today we are doing a full before and after on Scott Besant. But before we analyze what changed, we need to establish who Besant is as a communicator, because the contrast is everything here. Pay attention to his hands and the rhythm of his head.
Great fellow Funabashi-san, Japanese journalist, thinker, policy person, called and said, there's this fellow called Abe. He had been the prime minister before.
Notice the physical fluency. This is not just verbal. His right hand is working constantly, drawing the meaning of his words in the air. We call these illustrator gestures. They're one of the clearest markers of genuine cognitive engagement. Not just reciting, but thinking out loud, with his body following every thought in real time. It's also nodding softly throughout. That continuous vertical head movement is an unconscious signal of internal conviction. His body is agreeing with its own output. Now watch the second clip.
He's going to come back. I think he could be the prime minister, and he's going to campaign on restoring the Japanese economy, economic strength as national strength, and on a reflationary platform.
Same confidence, but now he subtly lifts his chin. That chin raise is a dominance display. It elongates the neck, expands the body's visual footprint, signals, I own this space. And that pinch gesture, index finger pressure to Trump, index finger pressed to thumb, that's a baton gesture. Batons land on the keyword like a conductor's downstroke, precision emphasis from a man in complete command of his delivery. This is his baseline.
And I wanted to add on to that. He mentioned it like a baton. How I always looked at it is, imagine changing that same gesture to talking to somebody and pointing your finger instead. You will do what you're told. It's being assertive on those different notes of what he's saying. And so he's really trying to drill home those points when he's hitting on it. Now, instead of pointing the finger, a lot of people will do that because that is a less aggressive illustration. And so that way it comes across as confident but not threatening. And then another thing about him lifting his chin up, whenever you lift up your chin, it's showing a feel of that you don't have any kind of fear or worry. Because when you have fear or worry, a typical instinct that most people will have is to protect vital areas. Neck being one of them, meaning lowering your head. When you feel where pressure is against you, or you feel kind of attacked, you lower your head. And that's just a defensive posturing. The same thing with crossing your arms and things like that. Those are all defensive things that we often do without thinking about it. And when you see somebody who's communicating and their chest open and head cocked up, that shows pride, that shows confidence in what they're saying.
But here's where everything changes. There's no audio to analyze from the interruption itself, but the footage captures the.
I don't know if you noticed that. Even the interviewer, if you looked at his face, when he turns and look, how his eyebrows arch up instantly, it's surprise, because he was engaged in the conversation that he was having with Scott Besant. He's engaged, so when somebody comes, it's a little shock. But if you look at the rest of his face is very relaxed. So obviously the person who's interrupting him is somebody who he's familiar with, and so it's not like a terrorist who's bursting in the room. It's not a shock as in fear, a shock as in like, thanks, kind of thing. Sorry, but I just wanted to point that out, so it's something easier that you guys can pick up on if you've never really done this before, never paid attention to these kind of tells.
Exact moment Besant is pulled away. and someone approaches to deliver the news. Something crosses his face for less than a fraction of a second. A lip corner pressed on the right side, a micro expression of frustration. He doesn't yet know who is calling. Then he finds out it's Trump himself. His face immediately relaxes into a soft smile. He's cooperative.
That's what he saw, but one of the things I saw is that kind of half smile that he gave. It's kind of maybe being friendly to the person who's coming to greet him, but half kind of like, okay, well, why are you interrupting me during this interview? Like, what's going on, dude? And then the fact that Trump is calling him right now during the interview, to me, what I caught was he didn't look like he was being relaxed. He looked like it was like, what the hell is about to happen? Now I'll back that up, and so you guys can look at it and see, what do you think that, what did you get from his postures and his movements? Because another thing, how we talked about the pride that you have in confidence, you're up top, chest is out, head is tilted up. For me, what I saw from him, shoulders went down. Shoulders going down is almost like a sign of disappointment, frustration. And so I'll back it up a little bit. I don't know. You guys can tell me if I'm tripping in what I saw, but he looked like, oh crap. He looked like he was starting to get an oh crap feeling. And so we'll compare all that and keep that in mind with what we saw of his postures before he was interrupted for roughly an hour.
And someone approaches to deliver the news. Something crosses his face for less than a fraction of a second. A lip corner pressed on the right side, a micro expression of frustration. He doesn't yet know who is calling. Then he finds out it's Trump himself. His face immediately relaxes into a soft smile. He's cooperative. He leaves. He spends a little more than 1 hour in the Situation Room, and the man who comes back is not quite the man who left.
And I'll throw in another thing, since I stopped it before, when he turned back around to the guy. At this point, since he didn't know what it was, that it was something a big deal, he didn't seem as stressed. He put on his poker face and a bright smile, like, hey, I'll be right back. Sorry about that. I'll be right back. Because he obviously has a rapport with this interviewer where he feels that this is a comfortable environment. So he was a little irritated, like, okay, what the fuck's going on? Why are you bugging? Okay, it's Trump. Sorry, buddy. I'll be right back. That's what I caught from that. But I don't know. You guys tell me. And I'll continue.
Now, look at his hands as he answers the first question after he returns.
No, the president is in great spirits.
I want to go back because I saw some comments. It's like, oh, good. Oh, yeah, Bush definitely did that. The Clinton's thumb, the folded arms, and security. Yes, they are. Jackie put, I wonder if politicians who have been pointed to high positions are coached how to speak and how to use expressions and body language. Yes, they do. That's the reason why when he turned, he gave the instant smile to say, hey, everything's okay. I'll be right back. That was a definitely coached response. That's the reason why I said that first response when he gave the little smirk and turn, shoulders drop, that was a little frustration. Like, I don't know what this is about. Why is he interrupting me right now? And then the smile to convey the feeling of everything's fine. Which, if you've worked around rich people, they have a lot of these tales because they're the ones who fake their emotions more than most average people. Most average people, kind of what you see is what you get for the most part, unless it's something like, a very tense situation. Let's see. Sorry, get caught back up with the chat. Did I spot a slight eye roll? I think you did. So does he know? I think he was talking about somebody else. I don't think he meant to say Shinzo Abe, because I actually caught that too. I was like, Shinzo Abe, what the heck is he talking about? Yes, with the MacGyver gun, correct. Oh yeah, you could tell. First thing, look at how rigid his body is. Who or what is Shinzo Abe is the former was it president or prime minister? I can't remember, of Japan. He was a long-serving leader of Japan, and he got assassinated in broad daylight with, as Rondo said, a MacGyver gun. I don't think he got chewed out, Warren. I don't think that's what happened. I don't think it was a chewing out. I think prime minister, I think what he saw and heard within that briefing scared him. I think he got startled. That's what I think happened. And you'll see why. A lot of times when you have other family members who are involved in certain things, that can also lead to more exposures of your tales, because you may not be in trouble or in danger, but if you feel there's a possibility, even if it's small, that family member may be in trouble or danger, or the possibility of it, you can give that away in your body language too. So let me show. Oh, let me get back to reverse it.
The Iranian mission is proceeding well ahead of schedule, and
his hands are completely still, pinned to his thighs. The same hands that were sculpting ideas in the air minutes ago are now nowhere. In body language, when a habitual gesturer suddenly stops gesturing, we call this a freeze response, a change of rhythm. The brain is under overwhelming load and begins eliminating non-essential outputs. And the first thing to go is gestures. His voice also carries a slight tremor as he delivers the line about the Iranian mission. The words say calm and in control. Well, the delivery says something else. But the moment that tells us everything comes next.
I have to tell you, Wolf, that I have a teenager who's considering military service.
He stumbles on teenager, not on a policy term, not on a foreign name. No, the word teenager, a word that he has said thousands of times in his life. And that is precisely the point. Stress-induced disfluency doesn't attack your hardest words. It attacks the words loaded with the most emotional weight in that specific moment. He's not tripping on the syllables. He's tripping on what the word means to him, his child.
That I have a teenager who.
Another thing I would throw in there, he brought up how his hands are rigid. It's not only his hands and arms that are rigid. If you look at it, his whole frame is stiff as a board. Even when he breathed, it was it was a quick breath. It wasn't a relaxed breath like you would have when you're just having a conversation and you're still relaxed. It's almost as if he's still holding his breath. And the reason you can hold your breath in a moment of intense fear. And that's what I feel he's doing. Now, at the same time, while he's trying to remain calm, his body is betraying him. That's why he's stiff as a board. And it's not only the hand gestures, it's his whole look at his whole frame from the seated position, from his torso all the way up through his neck. He is stiff as a board, hardly able even to let out a breath. Now, keep in mind, if he received this distressing information, he would have made sure to try to take the time to steady himself before he came back to sit down. This shows you whatever information he got distressed him so much that even with taking a breath, he still hasn't been able to calm himself down. He is truly fearful. And the fact when he started talking about Iran, when he said the keyword Iran and he moved his hand to the side, notice how his hand was. It wasn't he moved his hands were like this. His hands were like this, as if he was trying to signal something, but could not get his hands to completely operate with him. Another thing is that hand movement at the word Iran, or he said Iran, that's the key thing that's freaking him out and scaring him. He knows information, and whether that is that he received bad information in the situation room, or he just understood what this attack meant, what this was going to lead to, because he's one of the only brilliant people who's within the Trump administration. He don't need to have it all spelled out. He knows this means that, and that happens to this, and this. He can connect the dots, and that's why he's scared. And he knows it ain't shit he can do about it.
And his hands are still frozen. He's working to compose himself. And then something shifts. Watch his left hand as he starts talking about the team.
And I could give this team my highest compliment, from President Trump to the head of the Joint Chiefs to the Secretary of War. I would say that I would trust my child's life in their hands.
The illustrator gesture returns. First, the left hand,
which is clearly a lie. He stumbled even saying Trump's name, which indicates even fear dealing with President Trump. This man is scared of Trump. That's why he goes out and does everything that he's told to do and won't say a single word. All of them fear Trump. A deep fear of Trump. He stumbled over saying Iraq, he stumbled over saying teen, and he stumbled over saying Trump. Put those three things together. The man is scared Trump will send his son to Iraq. He's scared he's going to send a lot of people's kids to Iraq. And I don't think it's because of connecting the dots. I think he possibly heard him say it about committing troops. I think he's heard it well before this started getting to the point it was going. Like how we brought up about the terrain. Thomas brought this up earlier, the terrain, how it is. From a military standpoint, the strongest position you can be in when you're fighting a ground war without worrying about aerial attacks is at the elevated position. In order for them to get to where a lot of this stuff is being launched out, where they believe that a lot of the leadership is hiding out, is within the mountains, because that's the safest spot. They can keep bombing and bombing away, and those mountains are going to protect them if they're deep enough in. So that would mean bringing ground troops to assail that position while they have the upper position to attack downward on you. He knows that that is in turn going to put them in a dangerous position. And he knows the casualties that could come with that. And that scares him. Here, I'm going to continue it. And I'll mute up.
and then both hands rising together on I would trust my child's life in their hands. He has found solid ground, a statement that he believes completely, and his body follows. The voice is still slightly unsteady, but the gestures are back. This is reconsolidation. The emotional override is releasing. He is landing back in his own delivery.
That I would trust my child's life in their hands.
And the moment that clip ends, he swallows. Not a casual swallow, a deliberate, visible one. That is an emotional release marker. The body has been holding tension through the entire sequence, and the act of making that statement about his child, about his trust, creates a small physiological exhale. The pressure drops.
Another thing that I would throw in there, well, no, not throwing there, but a response that I want to say to a comment that I saw. I think Abby said it. Where was that comment at? Yeah, he's super anxious. I think you said, crap, I can't find it. But I think Abby had said something of this is, there it is. He looks like Bush at the elementary school with the book upside down. Exactly. He does look like it. And think about what information was Bush receiving at that time to have that reaction. So it tells me that Scott Bessent, who's very seasoned in media, been doing this for a long time, has been really good at, at doing this and being able to go on the fly and move and handle, information, think on his toes. This man is shook. Let's start tomorrow. Yeah. I'm sorry. Well, good night there, Jackie. Glad to see you. I'm getting ready to wrap this up too, but I just wanted to put this out there for you all to see. This is what's going on. Breaking Eric Prince and Blackwater dealing with people in Haiti with drones. Yeah, it don't surprise me. Because now would be the time to do it while everybody's shook. But yeah, Jesus Enrique was it Rosas? Yeah, he's the body language guy. I think he does really, really good work. And make sure you guys go and check out his channel, give him a follow, because he does break down a lot of important people. And I've seen him do his work. I've seen him check out a bunch of different people, and it's been really good at breaking down people, especially in their most heightened stress moments. So yeah, I definitely advocate that. I figure I've talked about a whole lot of crazy stuff, and figured I'll leave you guys with something kind of more on the funny side to end out. I mean, with gas prices going up and all this craziness in the world, I'll leave you guys with something that at least is a lighthearted story and entertaining in these crazier times. So here, where's it go? Where are we at? This man found a way to beat the expensive gas prices, and I don't know if this works for you. Then hey, maybe this is something you can do. But I think coming soon, everybody's going to have to be a lot more creative and clever on how to deal with different things as they come up, and help your neighbors and get help from your neighbors. If anything you can teach to them, and anything they can teach you, absorb that information. But here, I'll show you guys this one. I'll I'll just go on ahead and lead with this one, and this will be the last thing that I'll put out. I say I'll go ahead and end it after this, wrap this show up. And for everybody who, if whether you're here for 5 minutes, whether you're here for the beginning, whether you came in and out, whether you watch the whole show or whether you'll be watching later, I appreciate all of you guys for joining. Even if there's spots where we have our disagreements, that's one thing that I love about being able to do this, to be able to have the discussions. We're not always going to agree. And hopefully we're able to disagree and still be able to, build and move along, and not turn into, oh, we have one disagreement and, I can't deal with you anymore. Hopefully that's the case. I'd never like to burn a bridge all the way, and I always try to, leave an opening. So, hey, if we can ever make amends, then that's where I want to be. I don't take too much to heart unless somebody's truly, really did me wrong. And hopefully you guys won't either. Always try to be able to leave room, for resolving conflicts, small or large. That said, check out this little video, and hopefully it gives you guys a little chuckle and a smile. And until next week, much love and appreciation.
Meet Soda, who's cutting costs by spending more time behind the wheel of his souped-up go-kart, using the kid's toy with the power washing engine to get from point A to point B with just regular gas.
Good old regular, what is it, 87? Yeah, good old regular gas takes about
$2 to fill up, and I can go ahead and ride all day, man. And I can pretty much ride wherever I need to ride with. And whenever it runs out of gas, put another $2 in it, keep on going.
He's become somewhat of a local celebrity. You may have even seen some of his videos on social media.
Ain't that something? He wide open, man. That thing will move.
But the main thing he's being called is smart for saving gas. Today we watched him fill up the tank for a whopping
36 cents. 36 cents. If anybody wants to be blessed with $1.70 worth of unleaded gas, here it goes.
And even though soda's saving money, he's hoping for prices to come down, as many families who can't afford to get by like he does are really suffering.
I am hoping gas goes down, man. Summertime is around the corner, and I don't always want to be in this thing, so I need them to do something about these gas prices or else.
Victor Williams, Atlanta News First. Drivers in Atlanta are finding all different kinds of ways to make ends meet. Meet Soda, who's cutting costs by spending more time behind the wheel of his souped-up go-kart, using the kid's toy with the power washing engine to get from point A to point B with just regular gas.
Good old regular, what is it, 87? Yep.
There is discrimination in this world, and slavery and slaughter and starvation. Governments repress their people. Millions are trapped in poverty, while the nation grows rich, and wealth is lavished on armaments everywhere. These are differing evils, but they are the common works of man. They reflect the imperfection of human justice, the inadequacy of human compassion, our lack of sensibility towards the suffering of our fellows. But we can perhaps remember, even if only for a time, those who live with us are our brothers, that they share with us the same short moment of life, that they seek as we do, nothing but the chance to live out their lives in purpose and happiness, winning what satisfaction and fulfillment they can.